broadcasting live from North Park Lounge, Richland, and the Hilltop Event Center. Good Sunday afternoon, Steeler Nation. John Phillips here for Steel City Sunday for 4 hours of pregame coverage. Bills and Steelers, 4:25 p.m. kickoff from the home formerly known as Heinz. I don't want to say AccuSure. They don't pay me. Why should I say it anyhow? All right, so excited to be back, not traveling on like 3 flights from Oklahoma, not in an infirmary or an ER. We're here at MPL Richland. I've got next to me Bill Akins, who quietly produces the show and harasses me constantly about everything else under the sun. Good morning, or should I say good afternoon, Bill?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever, John.
All right.
It's great. It's a great day for Steelers football, huh?
It is. We'll see how things play out today, obviously. Steelers at 6-5. Bills come in 7-4. Both teams currently in the AFC playoff picture. Right now, Steelers half-game lead in the North via the loss on Thursday night, the shocking loss that Cincinnati hung on the Ravens. What was it, 32-14 was the final score in that one. Joe Burrow coming back from that injury that he suffered and back in action and doing damage.
Didn't miss a beat, huh?
Didn't miss a beat. I hate to admit this. Since Ben retired, he's become my favorite quarterback in the league. I like him and Baker Mayfield. I've liked Baker Mayfield from moment one. But, yeah. So
do you ever see that I think he was in college. It was his senior year. But it was some reporter had a picture of him when he was a little kid. He was like 10 years old, and he was in jean shorts. And they said, if you could go back in time and tell that kid something, what would you tell him? He said, you're going to be a national champion, son.
He had an unbelievable season at LSU, and I won a whole bunch of money gambling on him. I can tell you that right now. He was money. That offense was exciting. LSU talk for another day, I suppose, but with the whole Lane Kiffin thing. But we're here to talk Steelers and Ravens for you over the next 4 hours. We will have Paul Zeiss here momentarily to join us, and then once we get Paul on, we'll begin the show. But I want to go over today's broadcast itinerary for you because we are jam-packed. We have 10 guests lined up today. It's our biggest show to date. We're very excited that people are making us part of their pregame routine. Of course, we're live here on X, YouTube, and Facebook. You can check us out on all the social media sites, by the way, at the same handle, Steel City Sunday. Instagram and TikTok. We do not broadcast live on those platforms, but we provide content for all of them. But if you're on any of those or if you favor one over another, you can make us part of your routine. But on game days, we are live with coverage of Steelers games. In this particular case, it's Bills Mafia invading the city. I was at the Penguins game last night. As crazy as this is, and as much sports as I've covered in my lifetime for various media outlets through the market and, doing syndicated radio a million years ago, I had not been to a hockey game in the new barn. The old had not been to a hockey game at what was once Consol Energy Center, now is PPG Paints Arena. Boy, is that thing nice for hockey. I mean, I've been to concerts inside there, and I think I saw Bubble Guppy's thing one time with my kids when they were little in the Wiggles and things like that. But I'd never been to a hockey game.
Painful.
Well, last night I didn't expect much, and I was right. I had a great time commiserating with a lot of Toronto fans. I had family, and I still have family up in Canada. I haven't been to Canada in over 20 years, but used to go up to Toronto all the time. We used to make 3 visits a year at least to Toronto to visit family and just vacation and just get away. And, man, there were a ton of fans from the Toronto area in last night that also happened to be Bills fans, so they make a weekend of it down here.
When I say painful, I meant Bubble Guppies and Wiggles. That's
right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's part and parcel with being a parent,
Hey, I know the routine.
But it was a stark contrast to obviously what was the Igloo for hockey, right? The sound system, the big giant board that they have. I mean, that thing was blowing out noise and colors, and it was a fun atmosphere. It was nice to be there. and enjoy it. I couldn't convince any of my kids or my wife. I only had 2 tickets. I got them gifted to me like 2 hours before game time, and I went by myself. No shocker there. Made like 15 phone calls. Everybody's busy in our adult lives. But it was fun to go down there and at least see a game. And the atmosphere was good, even though the Penguins lost 7-2. Okay, so let's set the topics for today and the roster for you as we get prepared for this contest. It is Steelers and Bills. I want to run down who we have on the show for you today because I think it's important. We'll have Paul Zeiss joining us here momentarily. Is he in the backstage by any chance? All right. Well, maybe Paul's on a golf course right now. He does like to squeeze in the rounds while the weather's still warm. Paul Zeiss will be joining us here, hopefully in this 12 p.m. hour to talk about the game. We will also have at 12:30 Todd Haley for his weekly hit, Haley's Huddle, the former offensive coordinator of the Steelers, Browns, and Cardinals, and, of course, head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, Upper St. Clair native, Yinzer all around. In the 1 o'clock hour, Greg Brown is going to be joining us. That's right, Pirates broadcaster Greg Brown, former Bills color analyst for 3 seasons. And, of course, Mechanicsburg native, went to Point Park, started his career here in Pittsburgh in 79 as an intern with the Pirates, was the backup Parrot, went to Buffalo. He was with the Pirates for a decade. Then he went to Buffalo to call Bison's games, landed a gig with the Bills for a few years, and then in 94 came back home to Pittsburgh, and he's been here ever since. I'm so excited to have Brownie on the show. I can't tell you how excited I am. He's such a gem. And just a depth of sports knowledge. We'll have him on at 1 o'clock. We're doing not one, but 2 Consigs Pigs segments. Okay, we'll have Steve Cofield, a Las Vegas talk show host. He also is a sideline reporter for UNLV basketball and football. He's the host of Cofield and Company. He'll be joining us at 1:30. At 1:45, Behind Enemy Lines with Nick Sabato, Bills reporter for the Niagara Gazette. In the 2 o'clock hour, our NFL insider, Zig Fracassi, joins us for our NFL Whip Around. Around 2:15, Mike Oste and Mic'd Up, the national writer for Yardbarker, Pittsburgh Sports Now writer, and, of course, managing editor of West Virginia Sports Now. At 2:45, we're going to get Consig's Picks Part 2 with Beating the Bookie. We had problems with audio last week. We're going to try it again with him. 3 o'clock, the hour 4, we got Jerry DePaula. We'll have Bill with us and Bill's Breakdown, and we'll wrap up the show and get you ready for Bills and Steelers. Without further ado, we bring him in every week because he's available and he takes cash for consideration. Ladies and gentlemen, geez, look at that. Down at the Post-Gazette suite, I suppose it is Paul Zeiss of the Post-Gazette. Good afternoon, Paul. Why are you wearing that Bills hat?
Well, I thought it would be funny, that's all. It's a story is my daughter is actually dating the brother of Mitch Trubisky. So,
okay.
For the last 2 or 3 holiday cycles, I've gotten lots of Bills gear.
Okay.
So I figured I'd have a little bit of fun and wear one of the 17 hats that I have.
There you go.
But I will take it off because I just thought it would be funny.
That's great. You've never lost your comedic chops, by the way.
Yes. No, I know that there are probably some people that saw that and lost their minds. I mean, come on. It's sports. Relax a little bit. Have fun. It's sports,
Sports editor's inbox at the PG being flooded right now with complaints, I'm sure. So, okay, well, I guess we're going to have Aaron Rodgers this week. Good news, I suppose. Let's talk about how the week played out. Are you shocked that he's playing and starting?
I'm not shocked. I mean, I think, it's one of those things where he's the guy that honestly is your starting quarterback. And if he can play, you know what, why not play? I mean, I think the question is what changed this week from last week? I mean, the injury is the same injury. The same way that you would protect it last week, you protected it this week. It's not like it healed in a week. So my question there is, what exactly are we going to do here? What are you going to do to change it? I guess is the question, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. That's
What changed is all I'm saying,
well, yeah, and that's a big question, And I obviously you work with Jerry Dulac and Ray Fittipaldo; those guys have been covering the Steelers a long time. I didn't hear much scuttlebutt this week. I was actually off from work, and I was preoccupied with, like a lot of people, with Thanksgiving stuff. What did they say? What did they gather? What was the talk about the decision for him not to play last week, and now it's changed a week later? What do you think it might be?
Well, I mean, I think honestly, they wanted to give him a week to try and heal a little bit. And they thought that they probably could win against the Bears, with Mason Rudolph, which, quite honestly, they had some opportunities to do that. People were upset about Mason Rudolph. And my thing is he's a backup quarterback. And what you want your backup quarterback to do is give your team a chance to win. I mean, he put up 21 points. The defense put up another 7. They scored 28 points. That should be enough to win if you've got a $170 million defense, period.
Right.
So, Mason Rudolph is a backup who's capable of giving you a chance to win, which he did last week. The defense let him down. So they kind of were right there. And I think the big thing is they were trying to figure out some sort of way to, put a cast or whatever on his hand to make him comfortable where he can hand off the ball and he can make sure that he can, take the snap and all the things you've got to do with both of your hands as a quarterback.
Yeah.
And I think they got 2 or 3 good days of work in and said, well, you know what? We didn't bring you here to watch. So I feel like, he'll be able to go out there and play and do the things he does well, and we'll see what happens.
We've got some comments already rolling in via YouTube. Ethan, how do you say that? Ethan is King 84 says Rudolph is a career backup quarterback. Automatic loss if he started today. I don't know, probably. I mean, he played in that playoff game a couple years ago against this team. Not exactly the same Bills team, not exactly the same Steelers team. He was serviceable, but they got blown out in that one pretty quickly, and it was over before it was actually started. Let's talk about the Bears game real quick, and a key element to that game that I thought was just really dumbfounding. That 3rd down and goal at the 2, when they're down 3, the Bears are at the 2, and they run nickel with 2 down linemen against the best rushing team in the NFC. Have you ever seen that look before in a full-line situation?
I don't even understand what they were trying to accomplish there.
Right.
Like, what's the point of that defense in that situation against anybody? Forget about a team that runs the ball well. Right. Why would you use that defense there at that point? And, I think sometimes, again, these guys all outthink themselves, make it a lot harder than they need to, make it a lot more complicated than they need to. And the bottom line is down there at that situation, you need a lot of big bodies up around the offense or up around the line of scrimmage. That's what you need. And so I didn't like it. I don't even know that we got a sufficient answer as to why they were in that look, other than Mike Tomlin basically blowing off the question about it at the press conference.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it was Brooke Pryor that asked that question. He was like, I don't want to get into how we –
That was Chris Carter, I think.
Okay, from your newspaper. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so and a fair question to ask, and odd for sure. Paul Zeiss of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette joining us. This is Steel City Sunday, live from the North Park Lounge, Richland. People knocking our signs over. They don't care. This portion of today's show brought to you by Arch Masonry and Restoration. They are hiring in Pittsburgh, by the way, looking for block layers and bricklayers, concrete finishers, labor help. No experience, no problem. You can learn on the job. They have advancement programs and classes that can jumpstart your career in masonry and the building trades. 412-564-5733 or archmasonryinc.com to learn more. We've got Paul Zeiss joining us. We'll be joined by the coach himself, Todd Haley, in about 15 minutes. It is Steel City Sunday, a very festive atmosphere here at North Park Lounge, Richland. I don't know if you make your way up here or not, but they have these 6 rooms, Paul, that are decked out in all these Christmas themes. It's pretty wild. And the crowd is actually gathering here as we speak. Should be a fun event here at 4:25 p.m. Let's talk about Josh Allen. Look, for all the warts that the Bills have, and they have been bad on the road this year, 3 losses, they've given up quite a few points in each of those games. They still have an MVP player in Josh Allen. How do you stop him or at least slow him down today?
I mean, I think what a lot of teams have figured out is you don't necessarily have to stop him because they can't stop you. So, right. I mean, and here's the other thing. The thing about Josh Allen is this year probably more than the last. Yeah, probably, he basically has to be Superman for that team to win. Like, he has to just take that team, put it on his back, carry them to where they're going, and get them across the finish line. He has a pretty good running back that he plays with. His offensive line is bad. He doesn't have a lot of weapons around him to throw the ball to. The defense is bad. I mean, you want to talk about MVP. I think if that team makes the playoffs, there's your MVP because no other player in the league is asked to do as much to carry a team as him. So, to me, he's going to make plays. But, the other thing is he gets caught up trying to make too many plays that are really difficult plays to make. And he ends up making mistakes. He tries to make hero plays a lot. And so I think, the key is keep him in front of you, and get him to the point where he's a little bit frustrated and starts trying to do things that probably is going to lead to him making mistakes.
Yeah, and he does make mistakes. There's no question. He's got 8 interceptions this year, but he has a combined 28 touchdowns, 10 running, and 18 through the air. Outside of Khalil Shakir, who is their top wide receiver, he does spread it around quite a bit, but nobody has more than 565 yards receiving. So you are right. He is a Superman-type player for them, and if he doesn't do it all practically, they're definitely in trouble. I guess the Steelers are going to have to contend with another top running back this week, another team that does run the ball pretty well. For what it's worth, James Cook has been a pretty good running back for them over the last few seasons. He's already over 1,000 yards in just 11 games. He's only carried the ball 199 times. He's averaging 5 yards a carry. And look, I know the rush defense has had problems, especially to begin the year. They have kind of improved their numbers against the run. I think they're giving up as a team 106. That kind of puts them in the middle of the pack. But I would imagine, if Allen isn't doing it with his own wheels, it'll be James Cook, a lot of him this afternoon at Acusure.
Well, that's especially, because Derek Harmon's out. I mean, that's a big loss for the Steelers up front in their defensive front and their ability to stop the run. Is not having him. That's a huge, I think, loss for them. And we've seen the games when he hasn't played, they have not been really good against the run. So, you would think that they would try and take some of the pressure off Josh Allen and try and take a little bit of the pressure off of him and run the ball some. You've got a really good running back. But again, I've always long been in the camp that I think the Bills coaching staff as a whole make some of the worst in-game decisions I've ever seen consistently week in and week out. And one of them, I think, is they get enamored with something and it doesn't matter what's happening in the game. They'll just keep trying to do it. But to me, like today's a day, it's windy out, it's sleet, it's, kind of a nasty day out. It's going to get worse as the day goes on. You're going to want to run the football. Can they do that, though? Will they have the patience to do that? Will they continue to take the ball out of Josh Allen's hands if it's working? I don't think they will. I don't think that's not how they do things. And I think that's a big problem for them.
Yeah, right. When you limit yourself based on what you think you have versus what you probably need to at least try to use in certain situations. Mike Avocado 570 on YouTube. Does Paul have any inside information on MVS getting elevated to play? Are we at that point where we need Marquez Valdez-Scantling?
I asked Ray Fittipaldo about him earlier this week, and he basically just said, there's really no scuttlebutt or plan or anything to move him up yet. I think they brought him in as to just sort of be um, insurance, right? In case someone gets hurt. But the bottom line is they don't need, or in their offense, the way they run things, they don't want extra receivers hanging around. They want to basically just have as many spots available to tight ends as possible. That's the truth.
I don't disagree with you. It has been befuddling, and I think we've talked about this. Why not put Jonnu Smith into one of those slot positions, or put him out wide? Move him around as a wide receiver. You've got to try something. You know what I mean? Like, you've got to do something. If you're not at this stage, bringing in a number two isn't going to happen, obviously, right? And they're picking up the scraps of the scraps out there to fill holes in potential places where they may need somebody to come in. It is baffling that they're locked in with this tunnel vision, and it just doesn't change, even though there's a fire completely all around them, and they're like the meme, the dog, where everything is fine. They're just sitting around and everything is fine while the room burns to the ground.
Right. Well, again, if you ask me, they hired Arthur Smith because the head coach wants the offense to be conservative and wants the offense to be risk averse. And they want the offense to not turn the ball over and just stay out of the way of the defense. Well, I wrote this week in the Post-Gazette, I wrote a column that said pretty much the way to win this game is by letting your offense score points and win. Your defense, there's been this pipe dream that their defense is good enough to consistently be elite and win games and get stops and do all that other good stuff that they do. I don't know. I haven't seen any evidence at all that this team can consistently, over a 2 or 3 or 4 week period, play great defense. So to me, you play against a team like the Bills, whose defense is bad. You do what you do well, which again, they should be able to run the ball right at the Bills. Should be able to run right down them, and be able to do that all day long. Win the game by going out and scoring points. Period.
Yeah, and they're not doing that. The defense is it's something different every week, right? They take turns. Whether it's the lack of the offense, their inability on third downs, their inability to 40% of their possessions are 3 and out, right? And then another week it's the defense giving up 30. They've given up 30 now in 5 games, which is the most under Tomlin, I think, since 2000. It might be 2012 or something like that. They gave up 6. They had 6 games where they gave up 30 points. It's been very disappointing, to say the very least. We are Steel City Sunday, live from the North Park Lounge, Richland Hilltop Event Center. We've got Paul Zeiss joining us. Soon Todd Haley will be on board. We'll talk with the coach and Paul at the same time. 4 hours of pregame coverage will take you up till about 4 o'clock today, folks. Kickoff from Acrisure, 4:25 p.m. Steelers and Bills. What are we going to see out of the running backs today for Pittsburgh? Will it be Jaylen Warren, who has not really gotten the motor going up, albeit once against a very bad Bengals team, or is Kenny Gainwell going to get more snaps, more opportunities? He was effective last week against Chicago.
Well, I think that the biggest thing is Jaylen Warren this is a game that should be really his game. The way you're going to beat the Bills, or the way that you're going to be able to beat the Bills, is by running right at them. That's what their defense is not good at. And who better to do it than him? Yep. Who better than to hand the ball off? Forget all these silly toss plays and all these sideways things and everything else. Hand the ball to him and run right at them. That's what you are able to do. Now, it'll be interesting. I guess we haven't even gotten to the fact, John, that Broderick Jones is not in, and he's become a really pretty good run blocker for them. I don't know. I still feel like the Bills defensive front seven is not good against the power running game. if you do other stuff, if you throw the ball this way or that way or try to do all these other crazy things, well, then they probably are going to have more success against you. But if you run the ball straight at them and you're able to get right downhill, which I think Jaylen Warren does really well, to me, I think that then you can dictate what you want to do the rest of the game on offense.
Yeah, the run defense ranks 30th for the Bills.
Yeah, they're bad, no question. It's definitely their weak spot, and you would think that given that Aaron is a little dinged up, that they will run the ball more. But, again, as you said, he needs both hands when he's playing. It's not like he can only play with one hand. He's got to hand the ball off with his non-throwing hand at times. So, but, look, I have no problem if they run the ball 35 times today, 40 times today, if it's effective, right? Limit what your exposure is with Rodgers and give the ball to Gainwell, get the ball in the hands of Jaylen Warren, pound them up the middle if you have to. Like you said, you don't want to get into all these fancy gadget plays, but just smash mouth if need be. It would be nice to see the running game really establish itself today and, keep Allen on the sidelines. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. They've got to win the time of possession battle. That's the other thing I wanted to look at, too. I don't think they've won the time of possession battle much at all this season in most games. I'd have to go back and look at it, but I'm willing to bet dollar to donut that they have probably trailed in that department the majority of the season. All right.
Well,
I think it's fair.
Hang on, here we go. Let me look real quick here.
Okay.
I think if you look team stats here, time of possession. They have they've had the ball almost 5 minutes less than their opponents on average.
That's not bad.
32, 33, 32 and a half to like 27 and a half.
Yeah.
So the other teams have possessed the ball for about 5 minutes more than the Steelers every game.
Which is why they're 6-5. If there was a bigger discrepancy, they'd probably be under 500. So that's probably a fair assessment of where they are right now. All right, we're going to bring Todd Haley in to join Paul and I live. Todd Haley, of course, former Steelers offensive coordinator, wearing his toque. How was your Thanksgiving, Coach?
Mine was great. I hope Paul and yours was great also. I love it. I mean, I know we all do. I mean, you get 3 games Thursday, you get a game Friday, then we get to watch the Sunday football. So all in all, pretty good. Just made the leftover sandwiches here to fatten up a little bit.
So I guess we'll get your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers to start. Did not play last week, obviously, with the injury, given a week to heal up. They're going to need him today. What do you anticipate Mike and Art Smith trying to do with him this week based on how he feels?
Well, I think you guys were touching on it. I think the key is, what is it going to look like? Does he get under center? Because last week the offense wasn't the issue. We know that, but a lot of under center play. Probably the best the Steelers have ran the football last week. With Gainwell being heavily involved, and obviously Jaylen Warren. But what is it going to look like? Because you just in a weather game like they're going to be dealing with today. That was always the night before the game. We'd go in and say we'd see bad weather, high winds. All right, we're going to be in kind of a 4-minute mode. Normally, the plays you reserve for running out the clock when you have a lead. That's the type of game it appears it's going to be for a chunk of it anyway. So, can and will Aaron, be under center? I think is the key. And like I said last week when I thought he was going to play. The only tricky part, and if he practiced all week, he should be fine. But, handing the ball off to the right, it may be one of those reverse handoff deals like I've had quarterbacks have to do. I mean, you hold it with your right hand, you flip your hand over, and you put it in the pocket of the running back. So that'll be the critical thing, because you don't want to get one-sided, and running everything left. So that's what I'll be looking for.
You look at the running game, Todd. And Broderick Jones is out. Looks like he's actually out for the season. Obviously I'm not an expert, but looked to me like he got better every week. He got a little bit better. It looked like he was a pretty good run, blocker. When you lose a key player like that from your offensive line, what kind of adjustments do you have to make in order to make sure that isn't exploited?
Well, it's a lot. Not only are you playing a position that is ultra critical to protecting your quarterback, but involved in the run game, also. So it's a big thing. It's a scramble. At least they knew early enough I think they did that. They get somebody ready and get them acclimated in with the rest of the guys up there. But tackle not quite as important as an interior guy communication wise, anyway. And I would think that we'll see some slide protections going to that left side to help them out. Where guard's helping, and then include some chips. Put a tight end over there, probably more than you usually do. So, the good thing is they've had some planning time to handle it. But the bad thing is, as you said, I thought he was really getting better and looking like he has a chance to be a pretty good tackle.
He did improve over the course of the season. I think that's very fair, a fair statement. And then of course, the injury, which is presumably putting his season to an end. Steel City Sunday continues live from the North Park Lounge, Richland Hilltop Events Center. We are broadcasting live till 4 p.m. today, getting you ready for Steelers and Bills. Todd Haley and Paul Zeiss joining us. Todd, what did you think of the Joe Burrow return Thursday night? Did you get a good look at him at all by any chance? And now I hear some people are barking about Cincinnati making a late run now that he's back and could still potentially win the division with how things are very mediocre in the AFC North this year.
Yeah, it's been kind of a weird. I mean, it really has. Steelers, were in a prime position to just take control of the North and have let it slip away here. The Ravens had a chance to get back to the top. They laid an egg, the other day. So, Cincinnati, I mean, I don't know what the percentages are, but I got to believe you got to win every game and you got to have a lot of things happen to even have a chance. But on that note, as you look at the standings in the AFC, the Steelers' best path to the playoffs to me is winning the division. If they don't win the division, and you look at like the Houston Texans coming on, you can never forget about the Chiefs. You got some teams that are going to continue to make some noise. The team I worry about most is probably Jacksonville. I'm not a believer in them yet. But Joe Burrow being out there, he gave him a boost. Flacco wasn't necessarily the issue for a chunk of the time he played, but when you get your guy back, it gives everybody. And the shocking thing was the defense woke up finally, the Bengals defense. So, but that's a long shot. But for me, the Steelers, your best way in is win the North. I mean, because if you get in that dicey water of starting to have to scoreboard watch, it's no fun.
Well, go ahead, Paul.
I was going to say, are you a believer in some of the quote unquote newer teams like the Patriots and the Colts and I'd even throw the Broncos in there. I mean, those are the three teams that all have 2 losses. I mean, are you a believer in any of those teams yet, or do you need to see them do it in the playoffs before you really believe them?
Well, I mean, to officially, tag them with a really good team in the league, you have to do it in the playoffs. We know that. But the Patriots have been a shock because, I thought they were missing some pieces, but the way Mike Vrabel's brought them all together and has the defense playing. This time of year, defense wins. It travels. So I am a believer in the Patriots. Now, what they do once they get there, I'll have to see more there. But I believe they're one of the better teams in the AFC. The Texans are the team that I would just keep saying, watch out for. This team, I mean, they're on the outside right now, but that defense now is legit. I mean, they get after you. And when you got good defense and I think Stroud sitting out watching a little bit, he might get a little different perspective of that he doesn't have to be a hero with that defense. Just play football, be smart. So the Colts, they're kind of in that same process. I believe in them. I think they're a really good team. I think they're really well coached. They run the football. The defense is a little better than I think people thought it would be. And, but you still got to pass all these tests. So, it's December football now. These games now get really big for some of those teams, trying to stake their claim.
And as you're looking at things right now, and I'm looking at the AFC wild card race where the division leaders sit. Obviously, the Steelers have a half-game lead right now. They're in the 4th spot. They really need this game, especially. Buffalo could afford to lose this game in the sense that the Chiefs have lost, the Ravens have lost, and I know the Texans obviously I forget who the Texans are playing today. They've got the Colts. So a huge game for them today, divisional game, extremely important game for both teams. If Indianapolis, that game's in Indy, if they manage to win that game, the Bills lose, and they're still going to be sitting in the 7th spot at 7-5. For the Steelers, now if they puts them at 6-6, it'll drop them to at least 8th or 9th, and the two teams ahead of them in that wild card chase, the Chargers and Bills, would each own victories over them. Just really critical for the Steelers today, who, by the way, have done fairly well as of recent. Over their last 20 losses, they've come back to win 14 of 20. So they do respond well when they lose. I guess that's something maybe to think about today as you're looking at things. We've talked a little bit about the Aaron Rodgers. Let's talk about Kenny Gainwell last week, Coach. What did you see in him? He's probably been the best free agent pickup they've had this year.
Yeah, I'm sorry I dropped him from my fantasy league. I've made some poor decisions on the waiver wire. No, he's a unique little player. I mean, not the biggest, but he is quick and explosive. He's dangerous. He can catch it out of the backfield, but he's also a good runner. So I think this combination is kind of coming together. That's why a few weeks ago, everybody was on the Jaylen Warren bandwagon, but I can't see Jaylen being a guy that can tote it, 20, 25 times every single week down the stretch. I think that'll take a little toll on him. So you got to have that complement. I was thinking it might be Johnson, the rookie, but that hadn't quite come to fruition. So, you got to be able to run the football, and I like that combination. I think, Arthur Smith's being creative with Kenny. It's a little thunder lightning type deal, even though both guys are pretty explosive.
You obviously coached a younger Ben Roethlisberger who moved around a lot and did some schoolyard football type stuff. So you kind of have an idea what it must be like to try and coach a guy like Josh Allen. First of all, what are your thoughts on him, the player, as a quarterback? And two, how do you reel a guy like that in to, not take away what he does well, but sometimes he loses his mind and, he has some really awful turnovers and decisions.
Well, I think even with Ben, when you have a guy with that type of ability and talent, when he's not getting a lot of support in other areas, whether it's protection, whether it's guys making plays on the perimeter, the run game not being there, they go into hero mode. And Josh, I think when they've been at their best here last year specifically, up until the end, they stayed committed, dedicated to the run. They were able to do it successfully. And he just didn't – I think he felt more comfortable not feeling like he had to make every play and put the team on his back. So I think that's the key is stay disciplined, stay committed to the run. But for the Bills, they got to have – I'm not sure the status of Dalton Kincaid. I think he's a key piece. He's questionable. If he plays, I think that's a comfort blanket for Josh that really allows him to kind of settle in and trust somebody. But right now on the perimeter, I don't know who he really believes in other than Shakur, but he's an inside kind of slot guy. I mean, he's not going to do what the big timers outside do. So, other thing, guys. Special teams in a weather game like this, that could play a huge role in this game. If yards are hard to come by, who can make some kicks, who can field the punts properly. I think special teams is going to play a big factor in this game.
Yeah, and certainly the Bills are prone to turning the football over. Steelers are second in turnovers defensively. One of the few bright statistics for that defense this year. What do you attribute the defensive woes to, Todd? Where do you think the problem has been?
I think they probably were counting on Warren being a factor as he developed throughout the year. That hasn't happened, due to injury. Defense is always kind of an evolution of coaches, understanding what these different pieces is. Now you're gonna throw Samuel in there. I think that's a good get. This kid can play if he's healthy and pass the physical. I mean, I think that'll be a positive for him. But this is such a big game for both teams. But the Steelers, knowing that both of those tackles are out for the Bills, I would think they better have a really good plan. And with Josh, you can't just scream up the field. You got to be careful. You got to understand how to retrace steps, not allow him into space because, that's when he becomes ultra dangerous. So I don't know. I don't know on the defense. I mean, you see TJ do TJ type things last week, looked like he was going to be a game changer for him. But then just, tackling hasn't been great consistently. Misplayed balls in the secondary hasn't been great. So, but it's part of that evolution. The key is now, starting today, the teams that start playing their best football, will have a chance to make some noise.
I'm going to bring Bill in here for a question for you, Todd. Go ahead, Bill.
Hey, Coach. Hey, so, I was watching that Bills-Texans game from Thursday night. And, the biggest thing, everybody's obviously concerned about Allen running, but the biggest thing that I saw, I thought the Texans did a really good job. Their edge rushers stayed in their lanes, okay? They didn't over-penetrate. You didn't create any open escape routes for him. He only had 20 yards rushing. They were able to sack him 8 times. I think, if they can do that today, like I said, the edge rushers don't over-penetrate, don't create those open escape routes. I think you should just basically take a page out of what the Texans did last week.
Yeah, ideally, but that Texans defense is so fast in so many areas. The Steelers, we got some fast players and cover a lot of ground, but, that's one thing. I don't know that you can exactly duplicate what, the Texans with the personnel they have were able to do. But that discipline aspect of it is, listen, I've beat my head against the wall as a head coach trying to make these defensive players understand that it can't just be about them. They're by nature, especially pass rushers, are a little selfish and they want to get sacks because they know that puts them on ESPN, that gets big contracts. So talking about it and actually getting the players to do it is the real trick. So with Josh, you're exactly right. But it seems to me that here of late against the Bills, there's probably a lot of evidence even beyond the Texans for good clips and tape to show the defense. If you do this, this gives him problems, whether it's forcing him to move one way out of the pocket, whatever those little things are. There's evidence out there. And, if the Steelers can come close to duplicate it, I think, in the weather like it is, you hope for a couple balls to come your way with wind and all that. So I think that there's an opportunity here for the Steelers defense.
What's the biggest challenge for Aaron Rodgers with that cast or whatever he's going to be wearing on his wrist? It seems like there's a number of things you have to do with 2 hands as a quarterback. And I'm just wondering, like, you as an offensive coordinator, what would be your biggest concerns?
Paul, don't you remember Matt Cavanaugh back in the wearing a cast on his left hand? No, it is a challenge. Number one is, can you take a snap? That ball comes up pretty hard and fast. I'm sure Aaron, as gifted as he is, he's figured out a way to make sure it's hitting his right hand more than it's hitting his left. And that happens naturally anyway. But like I said, handing off to the right, if there is a lot of pain involved, you can't do it with your left hand. Like I said, I had Kurt Warner, he dislocated his elbow, so he had to do everything right-handed, and he was able to do it, and probably not as gifted an athlete as Aaron is. So there's a way around it, and then ultimately just protecting yourself. in some of those situations where you're getting hit or knocked around in the pocket, because if the pain is high, then you start doing things to protect yourself, and that's what you don't want.
We're Steel City Sunday, broadcasting live from North Park Lounge, Richland. We got Todd Haley for just another minute or so, and we'll wrap up with Paul here in just a few minutes. All right, Todd, your prediction on today's game before I let you go.
Oh, this is such a big game, but such a tough one. I was on radio yesterday with Zig Fracassi, and I just kept saying it's like a pick'em game. I can't, who plays the best special teams, who runs it the best, who stops the run, who doesn't give the football away. It is a toss-up in my mind. So being a Yinzer, I'll say 17-13 Steelers.
Todd Haley, always a pleasure. Thank you very much, sir. We will talk to you next week.
All right. You guys enjoy the football. See you, Paul.
Right. We'll see you, man.
All right. Todd Haley, gracious with his time, former Steelers OC, head coach of the Chiefs. List too long to even mention. All right, Paul, just a couple more minutes with you. I guess let's start with thoughts on what you expect to see and how you expect things to end.
I think that we're going to see a heavy dose of running from both teams until the defenses show they can stop the run. I think, both teams are going to probably get out and try and really run the football, keep the ball out of harm's way, try and keep themselves out of third and longs and, all the things that can happen and go wrong when you have to throw the ball in a windy kind of sleet, kind of slick, kind of conditions.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see that both teams are going to run the ball. I'll be very interested to see how much they allow Aaron Rodgers to like drop back and throw it. And, it'll be just real interesting to see how they handle his ability to handle the ball. And honestly, I think it's going to be a game. It's a fourth quarter game. And Josh Allen is going to do everything in his power to be Superman and try and win the game at the end like he does every single week. Some weeks it works, other weeks it doesn't. But if you watch the Bills, and of course, as we established at the beginning of the show, I watch the Bills a lot because I have to, right? As we established at the beginning of the show. But no, I watch the Bills every week. It seems like they're almost they're almost the same exact game every single week. They do all kinds of things wrong. They do all kinds of things right. But at the end, it comes down to the last 3 or 4 minutes. Is Josh Allen capable of being Superman and finding a way to get them out and to win? I think one of the things Mike Tomlin said about Josh Allen that is probably the biggest compliment you can give to the guy, and that is that he's the ultimate competitor. Forget about his talent, forget about his ability to run, his ability to pass it, all that stuff. He's just an incredible competitor. And that's what you want from your quarterback. Really, that's what you want from a lot of your players. And I think that's what sets him apart from, a lot of guys nowadays is that this guy, and, the other guy, I'll tell you, Joe Burrow is the same exact way. He is just an incredible competitor who just wants to win. And that to me is such an important part of being a great quarterback.
Yeah, Baker Mayfield as well.
Right.
I throw him in there as well.
Exactly.
And you're right. That intangible can't be taught. It's an intangible you have internally, right? And I think Lamar's probably in there too. Patrick Mahomes obviously in there as well. We're probably missing a few others, but I agree with you that intangible is something that is just inside you, and you can't teach it. It is just there, and that's what makes a good player a great player for sure. Ref Sam checking in on Facebook says the offense needs to get it together. They certainly do. The question is, Paul, will they? With a final thought, who's going to win today?
The Steelers are a win one, lose one, win one, lose one type of team. So they lost their last game and looked pretty poor doing it. They usually find a way to rally. So I'm going to pick the Steelers to win. And actually, I think Todd is probably close in that it's going to be a little bit lower scoring than people think. I'm going to go Steelers 20, Bills 17.
You want to do a quick 5 pick'em or no? You killed
absolutely.
me the last time. All right, let's do 5 games. We'll leave the Steelers game out of this since they're at 4 o'clock. How about New Orleans getting 5.5 at Miami today? The Dolphins have been on a bit of a run. I think they've won 3 straight now.
Dolphins are playing well. The New Orleans stinks. I know that New Orleans has had a couple of weeks where they've looked a little bit, what I would call, they've looked a little bit lucid, but for the most part, they've been bad. 5.5 is a lot in the NFL, as you know, John. But I like the Dolphins to win this one at home, probably by 10 or more. So I like the Dolphins and throw away the point. I like the Dolphins minus the 5.5.
All right, I'm going to take the 5.5. I think Taysom Hill is going to have a game today. I think the Saints outright in Miami to end that 3-game winning streak for the Fish. Let's talk about the Rams and Carolina Panthers. Panthers at home today catching 10 to a very good Rams team.
I tell you, I think the Rams. Could you make the case the Rams are the best team in football right now?
Yep.
I mean,
probably.
I look at the way that they're playing. I think Matthew Stafford is playing out of his mind right now. I think at the end of the day, their defense is really, really good. But here's the thing: it's the NFL. And just when you think a team is going to, get off on a roll and all that other stuff, they get their toes stubbed. And I'm telling you this much right now: if I were like one of those handicappers, that you hear on the radio in the morning,
yes,
they pay a bunch of money to tell us all their picks.
Yes,
I might be screaming, I don't need the 10 points. I don't even want the 10 points. The wrong team is favored in this game. I like the Panthers to win it outright, but I'll take the 10 points just in case.
All right. I actually like Carolina and catching 10 at home as well. Let's go to San Francisco and Cleveland. Browns hosting the 49ers. Browns are getting 5 at home.
You want to talk about a game that nobody wants to watch. This is going to be the worst game of the day. I'm sorry. The Browns offense is terrible. The Browns defense is really good. The 49ers have struggled with their offense. It's kind of funny, John, but when you don't have great receivers, all of a sudden every offense, including the one by boy genius Cal Shanahan, all those offenses don't look quite as good when you don't have receivers, that scare people, and something maybe that the people around here should take a look at. Anyway, I like what was the line?
3. The Jets are a 3-point dog at home.
No, 49ers and
Browns.
I'm sorry,
5 points. 5 points. Browns catching 5 at home.
I like the Browns plus the 5.
Okay, I'm taking San Francisco minus the 5. Falcons, this is a bad 1 o'clock slate. Falcons are at the Jets. Jets are getting 3 at home.
Good Lord. I'll take the Jets plus 3 at home. I don't even have any rhyme or reason for it other than I just think the Falcons stink too.
I agree. I like the Jets outright, actually, as well. I would play the money line plus 130, but I'll take the Jets plus 3 in that. Last game, just because I want it to be another stinker, quasi-stinker, Jacksonville at Tennessee. Titans getting 6.5 at home.
Jacksonville should win going away, but Jacksonville doesn't blow anybody out. Jacksonville is the ultimate plays to the competition. Jacksonville will probably win this game, but they're going to basically need a last-second field goal to do it. So I'm going to take the points with the Titans, which is incredible because the Titans are one of the worst teams we've seen in 10, 15 years. But I'm taking the points.
Yeah, they're bad. I unfortunately am going to be joining you with Tennessee plus 6.5 on that one. He's Paul Zeiss. You're the best, Paul. I wish you nothing but. By the way, is it a prerequisite to wear the hat while you get thrown through a table?
Yes. Well, I think that they've often wanted to throw me through tables.
Fair enough, Paul. Thanks for joining us as always. You're a good man.
All right, brother. We'll see it. We'll do it again. Thanks.
Yes, sir. Paul Zeiss, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, joins us every week. He's always gracious with his time, and it's a pleasure to work with him again. It's an absolute pleasure. Did you hear? I was in my SoundCloud recently. Did you hear the little piece that I sent in the group chat? Did you hear that by any chance? So when I worked with Paul when he was doing the evenings with the fan.
I did. Yeah,
did you listen to that?
Yep, I did listen to it. Yep.
I'm telling you, I had great times with virtually everybody over there, with the exception of one human being who shall remain nameless. But my last 2 years there, I was just updates, and I worked primarily in the evenings with Paul, and I just had such good chemistry with him. He's such a solid guy, so knowledgeable about all things, not just sports. You could talk life and other things with Paul, but it's great that we are able to have him weekly on the show. That's part of what we're doing here. If you're new to our broadcast, welcome. We are Steel City Sunday. We are sponsored in part by Arch Masonry and Restoration. Arch Masonry and Restoration, at this time of year in the north, when it gets colder, contractors tend to slow down. Arch is not. They are busy. They are looking for restoration people. They're looking for brick masons, block masons. They're looking for concrete people. They're looking for labor help. If you've never worked in construction, that's okay. They have programs that can help you get a career started in the building trades. You can call them 412-564-5733 or reach out to them via their website, archmasonryinc.com, to learn more. They've been our sponsor along with North Park Lounge Richland since the beginning of the season. They continue to be on our side in terms of helping us put this show together every single week. We can't do it without them. I thank them. We thank them for being a part of our weekly show. All right, live from the North Park Lounge Richland, I am John Phillips hosting another three hours. This game was so big, we're doing 4 hours of pregame. That's how big the show is. Coming up in just a few minutes, Greg Brown. Is he in the backstage by any chance? Let's bring Brownie in. Let's just get it over. Let's just get this thing going. I'll tell you, one of the finest human beings known to man. I'm telling you right no lie. Listen, those were some lean days when I was doing the phone zone, and and you were just there every single time. By far, the most booked guest in my 3 years there, Mr. Greg Brown.
Thanks, JP.
Good to see you, Brownie. How are you? How's your off season?
It's beautiful. It's flying. It's absolutely flying. I love it, though. I love it. Best time of the year, man.
It is. It's a good time, no question about it. Not just for adults, but for the kids certainly. So let's talk a little bit about your days, starting with. And I think some people know this, maybe they don't. Of course, you've been Pirates broadcaster for over 30 years now, but before that, you spent a couple seasons calling Bills games. You were a minor league baseball broadcaster up in Buffalo as well. Let's talk a little bit about that time. What a glorious time for Buffalo, that magical 4-year run, and you were very much a part of that broadcast crew. Talk a little bit about that, if you would, please.
Well, it was magical. I remember, John, how often people would be down on the Bills for going back to the Super Bowl. It's like they became the most hated team in football because people were sick of them. I got fairly close with the coaching staff and some of the players, and after 4 years you get to know a lot of them and their families and so on, and it became kind of a rallying cry. It was almost like, okay, we'll show you, we'll be your worst nightmare again this year, and it was a magical time. I think they are that moment in time in sports will probably never happen again in any sport, not just football. But to me, they were amazing in their resiliency, how they kept getting back off the mat despite all of the stuff swirling around them year after year. The fact that they could keep doing it again to go to 4 straight Super Bowls, it's just a feat that I don't know that any team in pro sports will ever go to 4 straight championships of any kind again.
Yeah, not certainly now in this salary cap era of sports. It is hard to keep teams of that nature together. It really is. And I know that was early in that salary cap era. I believe it was 91 when the NFL adopted the salary cap. And I was an intern at a TV station in Erie at that time in 92. I worked at Jet TV in Erie, so I got to cover the Bills that year in 92. I got to cover the Browns and Steelers. I got to cover the 92 NLCS at the station. So that was, magical for me as I was wrapping up my college tenure trying to get into the business. Going to Buffalo for those games was just, it was a different feel. Nowadays, it seems like everything, I guess social media probably has a lot to do with this, where now things are bigger, because everybody's got a voice. Everybody has one of these in their hands. They can, you can be your own reporter. You can be your own personality without working for anyone per se. But a great run and great players in that locker room. Great, starting with Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, those guys. That defense, Phil Hansen was a big part of it. They had some really dynamic players on that team for sure.
To your point about how different it is this day and age, I've not been to a Super Bowl since that 94 year.
Okay.
But I remember the first Super Bowl down in Tampa, that week leading up to the Giants. And now, if memory serves, John, I swear, Media Row now, from what I understand, is absolute mayhem.
Yeah.
I guess stations from all over the country, whether you're a flagship or not, whether you cover the team or not, you go. You would know better than I do.
Yes.
But back then, it was a novelty. I don't remember more than a handful. ESPN was there, and the station that covered the Giants, of course, several New York stations. But it wasn't like there were 30 stations. There were a handful of card tables set up for that week leading up to it. And people would go by. I'll never forget. I grew up long story, but I grew up a Chicago Bears fanatic in central Pennsylvania. So they were my team. And I still kind of follow them to a degree, although, I was rooting for the Steelers last week. But so my hero growing up was Walter Payton. And this was, this is the 1990 Super Bowl against the Giants and leading it. So all these sports personalities are walking the Tampa Convention Center, this Media Row. And I and my co-host were standing there yapping, and we would try and grab guests. So I went up there and I asked Mr. Walter Payton, would you mind spending 5 minutes with us? Here's my hero. I was worried, having not met him, is he going to disappoint me? He could not have been nicer. He couldn't have given us more. I'll never forget that day, that moment, but that week. And again, going back to your point about how different things are, because everybody has a voice now.
Yeah.
And way different back then. And you're right with the salary cap. It's hard to keep. What the Bills did and what the Steelers did for so long was to, even as the salary cap era entered our consciousness, they had the wherewithal, the knowledge to decide, okay, we can only keep a handful. And that's true now in this day and age with salary cap. You can only keep you've got to make a determination, the handful of guys that are critical, and the Bills kept their skill guys intact for all those years. You mentioned them. You mentioned Jim Kelly and Andre Reed and Thurman Thomas, and they had Keith McKellar and Pete Metzelaars and the line, with Glenn Parker and Jim Richer and those guys, and Kent Hall and the defense with Cornelius Bennett and Bruce Smith and Nate Odoms, Shane Conlon, Andre Reed, of course, and many Hall of Famers. But they were so smart in how they kept the core group intact, even at the advent of the salary cap.
Yeah, no, absolutely. One of my other favorite memories of that year, especially 92, was coming up to Buffalo. And I don't know if you know Mike Gallagher. Do you know Mike offhand?
Yes.
So Mike was a staple at Jet for many years. He's down in Tampa now, but he did a little thing with this young woman named Maria Sandstone. She was a little girl back then. She was 9, I think, at the time. And I don't know how he discovered her, or if she was a friend of the family's. but he started doing this little segment called Down to Size with her, and it became a phenomenon. The NBA set up a meet in Cleveland with her to do a segment on Michael, and they brought Michael Gallagher, talk to the Bills. We came up there. We got to do. He used to do a TV show, Jim Kelly TV show or whatever it was. It was an hour or whatever it was in a studio at one of the TV stations, and we actually got up there and got a chance to actually talk to Jim. For a few minutes, and it was, but it was special. It was a special time. Met Michael Magic Johnson at a Bills game. He was at the opener that year. He was at the opener that year. Yeah, he was at the opener. I got to see Deion Sanders play against them. That was a game. I met John Daly at a Bills game that year. Because he was a friend of the quarterback John Elway. He was a good friend of his, still is presumably. Oddly enough, Daly is a friend of Tuffy Schallenberger, who owns the Riverhounds that just won the USL championship. So it kind of all tied together. But so crazy stuff. Yeah, full circle, if you will. So Greg Brown joining us, kind enough of him to come on board for a few minutes and talk about his time with the Bills. Football for yourself in this off season, you enjoy it? Are you a big fan of the NFL? You mentioned you're a Bears fan, but do you find yourself on Sundays on the couch watching football?
Well, yeah, I was a Bears fanatic growing up. Now I followed them from afar, and really to a degree, I don't get into the NFL until it's too cold to go out, because during the summer I'm in watching a game or doing a game every Saturday and every weekend. I work every weekend.
Yeah.
So an opportunity in the fall, but then when it gets real cold, now's about the time. Now, especially the last handful of weeks. Now I'll start to gear up and follow it closer. But I'm a casual fan now. I used to be really into it. John, you know the way it is. I used to work 12 months. I used to do baseball, football, and hockey and basketball, and did sports talk and did it all. And now I get to do it just as a fan, and I'm way more casual about it now. I'm really looking forward to this one today because these are two of my favorite teams. I don't know many people from the Bills still there. I don't know that there are any back then. I actually still stay in touch on occasion with Marv Levy, who celebrated his 100th birthday last year in Cooperstown, Hall of Fame in Canton. They honored him, and many of the Bills players, including Jim Kelly and Andre Reed and Cornelius Bennett, showed up for it. And he's still going as strong as ever at the age of 100. Hall of Fame coach Marv Levy.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. But this is a great match. This will. Now I know they've met many times since I was in the booth, but the last game that I remember these two playing, of course, was the last one they played was actually after the Bills beat the Steelers here in Pittsburgh, following the greatest comeback ever against the Houston Oilers, that wild card game in the '93 playoffs. So the Bills beat the Oilers in Buffalo. That 35-3 started the second half, and they came back and won that game. I think 41-38 was the final. So they beat the odds there. They got to go on the road again. They come to Pittsburgh, and pretty sure it was Neil O'Donnell, and Frank Reich was still quarterbacking because Jim Kelly wasn't right yet. And the Bills looked like they're going to dominate. The Steelers looked like they're going to dominate the Bills. They led 3-0 at halftime, and Bills looked out of sorts. They're working on just 5 days prep, 6 days prep, because they had played the wild card game on a Sunday in Buffalo. And that divisional playoff game in Pittsburgh at Three River Stadium was on a Saturday, so a short work week.
Okay.
And they looked like all out of sorts. Steelers led 3-0 at the half, and then the Steelers made all kinds of mistakes. Neil O'Donnell wasn't good. Frank Reich connected on a couple of big plays. The Bills defense then kicked it into high gear, and I think they won 20-3 or 23-3, and then advanced to the AFC Championship game, and of course went back to the Super Bowl. Then they went back to Three Rivers, I'm almost positive, in that '93 season, and this time the Steelers shut out the Bills. I believe it was 20-0. They knocked out Jim Kelly the Steelers did. They knocked him out, a concussion after the first half, and Frank Reich was his first game of that year, the 93 season. It was about 9 games in, and Frank Reich came in and was not sharp, and the Steelers dominated. Now, again, I know they've played 100 times since, and I'm not even sure what the series is since that time, but I do vividly recall that, of course, playoff game here in Pittsburgh after the wild card win over the Oilers, and then coming back here. Oh, it was a Monday night where the
Monday
Steelers
night
shut
game.
out the Bills.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bill Gaines has a question for you. We'll bring Bill in here real quick. How you doing, Bill?
Hey, Bronny, how you doing?
Bill, what's going on?
Oh, not too much. Yeah, hey, what was the game, the playoff game? So I'm 45, so obviously I grew up watching those Bills, make their run, and unfortunately not being able to win the big one. But what was that game? It was a playoff game. I remember it was the Steelers up there, and it was really foggy. I remember it was like you could hardly see the field. It was so bad. Was that the 93 or was that the 92? I forget. What year was that?
Boy, I don't remember a foggy playoff game because I think they played a couple years later. I think the Bills and Steelers played in a playoff game after I came back.
Okay.
And I thought that was here.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but in terms of like playoffs, so there was that. It was it would have been the 92 season, but it was the 93 year in January that they played the Oilers and won that. And then they played a couple years later, and then of course they played last year, right, in a playoff game. So I'm not sure that there was a fog game that I can recall.
Maybe I don't know. It might have been a regular season game. I could have swore that it was a playoff game, but yeah, I mean,
most of the games I remember in Buffalo were freezing, man.
Yeah,
and wind.
I just remember, I mean, those Buffalo teams back in those days were so fun to watch. I mean, you had obviously Jim Kelly, the pride of East Brady, Thurman Thomas, Bruce Smith, Don Beebe, Pete Metzlars. I mean, Christie, and Darryl Talley. He was always one of my favorite guys. And I remember him. He used to have those Spider-Man sleeves, the blue Spider-Man sleeves.
Yes, good call.
Love that.
Yeah,
I was
call.
Always,
what a memory.
Yeah, I I was always a
what
fan
a memory.
Of that. Yeah.
I was thinking when John asked about me coming on, I thought, heck, I've not really been all that in touch with the Bills lately, but trying to think of a pattern, something that is similar to my time there in the booth and what's going on these days, and can you relate? And I think it's probably fairly similar. It looks like, well, the Bills just have had a run. Now, are they still? I guess you can't count anybody out with Josh Allen. Now you can't compare him as a Bills quarterback to anybody that we've seen over the years since. I mean, obviously Jim Kelly was not a mobile quarterback. I don't know they've had anybody like him since. He's kind of an enigma to a degree. But in terms of what it's like to try and become a winner, a winning team, a winning franchise, are the Steelers close? Are the Bills, at the end of a run? Are they going to get back? When the Bills started their run, it was, that Super Bowl game, the wide right, the Scott Norwood kick against the Giants. That was their first Super Bowl game. But the previous year was when, the no-huddle offense was born. I don't know how many people talk, and I apologize. I don't listen to many of the talk shows, so you guys may talk about this all the time. I don't know. And this may be way off. But, the no-huddle offense, now some teams employ that now. I don't know if they do it on a regular basis like the Bills did. But before I got into the booth as a color guy, I was a reporter for the competing team. We earned the rights to do the play-by-play of the Bills the following year after I got there. So I got there in 1989, and I was assigned, one of my first assignments was following the baseball season that year, was to be kind of a beat guy for the Steelers. And they went to a divisional playoff game, and the Bills were terrible for a long, long time leading up to this. But I was on the sideline, and this may be old hat to you, not to me, because I think it was one of the coolest moments in my career as a, quote, reporter, or as a fan for that matter, of sports. I was assigned, for whatever reason, on our station. Eventually, as I said, we got the rights. We won the rights to do the play-by-play the following year, but we were on a competing station. I was on the field in Cleveland, old Cleveland Stadium, when the Bills and the Browns were playing in the first round of the playoffs. And so the Bills had just now started coming to be. Jim Kelly had been a USFL guy, and they brought him into Buffalo. And so they are down 4 points to the Cleveland Browns. And I'm on the sideline toward one corner of the end zone. And the Bills are marching. It's the Browns end zone. And Jim Kelly, with less than 2 minutes left, is basically handed the offense by Marv Levy. Like they're down 4. They went to the no huddle at that moment. This is turned out to be the last game of their year because there's a playoff game they would lose to the Browns. But I will never forget, I was standing on, because it was wet and I don't know if guys, you're too young to remember old Cleveland Stadium.
That was old Municipal Stadium, right?
Oh, man, yeah.
Not me. Go ahead.
I don't know, John. I don't know about that. So anyway, I'm down by the Browns end zone on one corner, and here come the Bills. Jim Kelly, he's marching down. Listen a minute. They got down to about the 11-yard line. He spiked the ball with, I think, 9 seconds. It was within 10 or 9 seconds. So if you can imagine, that place held, I don't know, 95,000 people.
It was a big building.
It was crazy.
Yeah,
it was crazy cold. I'm certainly not prepared for it, but standing on like plywood right near, in this day and age, you'd never have a reporter like, bro, I could have taken one step and been in the end zone. And Kelly on second down and down 4, 9 seconds left, goes back to pass. The other corner of that end zone where I'm standing, a guy named Ronnie Harmon was a running back for the Bills then. It was like slow motion for me. He is wide open in the other corner of the end zone. Kelly throws him a perfect pass. If he catches it, they win. They go to the AFC Championship game against the Broncos that year. Instead, it slips out of his hands. Kelly then, the next play, tries to throw it over the middle with 4 seconds left to Andre Reed's picked off. The game is over. The Browns go to play the Broncos. The Broncos beat them in the AFC Championship game. They go to the Super Bowl. But that was the beginning of the Buffalo Bills, which is a dynasty. I mean, they may have lost 4 Super Bowls, but that was, I don't think anybody would argue that's a dynasty what they did for that stretch. But it was not the Super Bowl year against the Giants. It was the playoff game, that AFC divisional playoff game against the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland, where the no huddle offense was born, because Marv Levy took that into account and said, you know what, we're gonna do that next year, and it became a full-time offense for them.
I will say that was the year Ernest Biner fumbled that ball late. The Browns should have won that game.
That's right.
They should have won that game that year in Denver. And as somebody who
the fumble, they call it.
Yeah, that's right. And as somebody who covered games for a brief period in Cleveland, worst stadium I've ever been in my entire life.
Oh, horrible!
That place was a death trap. It was an absolute death trap.
That was truly the dog pound. And then you take some character away. And as much as people love Acrisure and Hines, which is great, and really to a degree in the NFL, I don't know that the venue truly matters. But man, John, for those of us old enough to remember, I mean, I practically lived at Three River Stadium for years. I knew every nook and cranny. I had keys to every door. I could, for almost every Steeler game, I would walk in and I can say this now, statute of limitations is up on me, but I would sneak in and I would watch all those games. I'd go up behind the grounds crew and hang out with them. John, this is nuts. After Steeler games, I remember Monday Night Football, after the game, after the fans were clearing out, a handful of us, would go out onto the field under the lights and play touch football for like an hour. We used to play at lunchtime during the week. This is nuts. Steelers were practicing for their game on one half of the field. We would go out on the other half and play touch football. Like, nuts.
That's right, because you spent 10 years in the Pirates organization.
Yeah, we were in the front office. So we shared, the stadium was the Steelers and the Pirates. Yeah. And like I said, you knew every nook and cranny, knew all the Steelers people and stuff. And like I said, that in this day and age would never happen.
Yeah, certainly, for sure. Greg, I can't thank you enough for coming on. It's been a real pleasure to have you on, that you give me 20 minutes of your time. You've been gracious through the years. You're such a pro. And I hate bothering you during the season.
Jeez,
so
please. I don't mind. Honest to gosh, John, I love talking to you. And I love talking sports of any kind.
It's great. No, you've been fantastic over the years, and I put a feature together on the broadcaster that was in the. He was in the Twins organization, the local Pittsburgh guy. You were kind enough to get back to me on that. I thank you for your friendship over the years. You're such an encyclopedia of knowledge. It's fun to be able to catch up with you and chat. Thanks, Greg.
Well, I really appreciate the invite. And tell my old buddy, you got the Camp Hill connection, John Fenko.
He'll be on
in high school is going to be here. I understand, right? He's
going to be jealous. He's on the post game show every week. He's fantastic.
Well, when you see him, tell him he's killing me, Fenko. You're killing me.
You're the best that ever lived, Greg.
Right,
thanks.
See you, John. The best that ever lived.
Greatest of all time. Thank you, Greg.
See you, man.
All right, Greg Brown, Pirates broadcaster, former Buffalo Bills color analyst, and all-around fantastic guy. This portion of today's show brought to you by Arch Masonry and Restoration, where they are hiring masons, bricklayers, block layers. They're hiring construction labor help. If you don't have any experience, that's okay. Arch Masonry has programs that can get your career jump-started in the building trades. 412-564-5733. Visit archmasonryinc.com to learn more. If you're checking us out on X, YouTube, or Facebook, welcome. This is Steel City Sunday. I'm John Phillips, your host. We have more coming up in the second hour of 4 hours of pregame coverage. We will be jumping on board at 12:30. At 1:30. It's weird. We haven't done a 4:25 game yet. So it was a little weird to say that. At 1:30, in about 10 minutes, 8-10 minutes, Steve Cofield's going to join us for Consig's Picks, where we talk about the betting lines. Games are in progress. Steve has been a sports talker for over 30 years in the Las Vegas market. He did syndicated radio. He does reporting work for UNLV football and basketball. He's the host of Cofield and Company on ESPN Las Vegas. He's coming up at 1:30. At 1:45, we'll do Behind Enemy Lines. Nick Sabato, who covers the Buffalo Bills for the Niagara Gazette, will be joining us on the show, so we'll talk with him. That's all coming up here in the 1 o'clock hour. Still at 2 o'clock, NFL Whip Around with our NFL insider Zig Fracassi. At 2:15, Mike Ostie in the mic drop. We'll have him. Of course, the managing editor of West Virginia Sports Now, part of the Pittsburgh Sports Now family of websites, national writer for Yardbarker, and heard on Sirius XM. We'll do another Consig's Pick segment at 2:45 with Beating the Bookie. Then in the 3 o'clock hour, Jerry DePaul is going to join us. We'll have Bill's Breakdown, and we'll wrap up the show somewhere around 3:30, 3:45 p.m. As the Bills and the Steelers get ready for a 4:25 p.m. kickoff. All right, we have a couple of games in progress that are underway in the NFL. Let's give you a scoreboard update so you are aware of what is going on. San Francisco leading Cleveland 7-0 early on in that contest. Tennessee leads Jacksonville 3-0. About 4 minutes to go in the first quarter of that one. Houston and Indianapolis are underway from the heartland of America. It is the Texans 3, the Colts 0, Jets and Falcons no score. We've got the Rams and the Carolina Panthers tied at 7 apiece. Tampa Bay and Arizona no score in their contest. And in the last game that I have not mentioned, the Dolphins lead New Orleans by a score of 7-0 midway in the first quarter of that one. I'll bring in Bill Akins. Let's quickly say David Lee Roethlisberger via X saying, "What's up? How you doing?" The Rams look strong. They just gave up a touchdown. That game is tied 7 apiece. If you want to comment on social media, we'll be happy to respond to you. All right. Hope you're okay with me doing this spot on the phone. Just finished my own live show. No worries. We got Steve Cofield. He does a show live on the Strip. Used to work for the radio network that I was at years ago. Had a chance to hang out with him in August. We'll be good on the phone, Steve. I appreciate you checking in. We'll get him in here in a few minutes. Bill, thoughts on today's game? We haven't really – I know you've asked some questions here. There are some of the guests. Let's get your thoughts on what you think is going to happen today.
Well, I mean, I think, as I stated with Coach Haley, I think if you're able to get some pressure on Josh Allen, he was sacked 8 times against the Texans. If you're able to do that, if you're able to force turnovers as well, this team, it's an evenly matched matchup. I think you got 7-4 versus 6-5. I think this is a winnable game. I will say, having the Bills having their starting tackles out, I think is big. Both of them. So I think that's a big thing. I think if you establish a running game early and you're effective with it, I think that's I'd split the carries between Gainwell and Warren.
I want to see more of Kenny Gainwell.
I do too. He had a good game last week. They had 186 rushing yards against the Bears. So and this like I said before, this rushing defense of the Bills is ranked 30th. So exploit that, right?
Right.
And like I said, the big thing I saw with the Texans is, man, he was under duress, that being Josh Allen, all game. They harassed him all game. And I think if you can do that and, like I said, force turnovers and just be effective on offense, you don't have to set the world on fire, but just be effective on offense. Just, put some numbers up on offense. I think you can win this game. But those are big ifs, right? Those are big ifs.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. They need to run the ball a lot. No question about it. I'm very comfortable with 20 passing attempts tops from Aaron Rodgers today. If he's throwing the ball more than 20 times, they're in trouble. They want to control the ball and keep Josh Allen off the field. They have to keep him off the field as much as possible. And that means controlling the football by running it against a very porous rush defense.
Correct. Whenever you establish a running game and you run the ball effectively, you're going to win the possession game, right?
Yep.
You will. I'm worried about this injury to Aaron Rodgers. I know they say he's okay. There's no worry, but I don't know, man. This is, I know it's on his non-throwing hand, but what I'm worried about, John, is the potential for re-injury. He gets sacked or something like that. Don't forget, he injured this bracing himself, getting hit, right? I'm worried about that. I'm worried about a re-injury,
Right. Well, no, that's fair. A re-injury is, right.
Tomlin can't live in your fears. I get it, but this is this guy is, he has been a little bit up and down and a little bit inconsistent, but I think he gives you the best chance to win. I do. So.
I agree. I don't think that's a stretch. Even at 41, soon to be 42. It turned 42 this week. But again, a 9-8 season and missing the playoffs or making the playoffs and getting blown out is just it's in the horizon here. As David Playchrome checks in via YouTube, he says every game is winnable as long as you play winning football, and it helps not to be out coached.
And I agree. Last week they were out coached by Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
They really were, right? Ben Johnson had a great game plan for the Steelers last week.
Right.
So I agree. Don't get out coached. Don't get out coached. And I think, Paul made a good point earlier. Bills have had some issues coaching decision-wise.
Right.
They've had some issues play calling. I think their play calling has been Josh Allen's kind of saved the day for them. He's the Superman. But they've had some issues with clock management as well. So, you shouldn't get out coached by the Bills. You shouldn't. But,
right.
You can. It can happen.
Yeah, it could. Hopefully, Steve is going to be in the backstage here in just a few moments. Steve Cofield will be joining us from Las Vegas, Nevada. The busy guy. Guy works 7 days a week this time of year. When he's not doing his weekday show, he's got UNLV football and basketball to deal with. He had UNLV and Nevada. They played last night in Reno. And now he's got a Sunday show that he does live on the Strip. Hopefully he'll be popping on here in just a few minutes. I'm just trying to make sure. Get the. Sorry, we wear many hats here. Producing, writing, directing, hosting, all of that fun stuff. Sales. I guess I do the internal audit for the IRS when they come and look at my books as well. So this is Steel City Sunday. Welcome to our broadcast. If you're hanging out with us on X, Facebook, or YouTube, welcome to the show. Tell some friends about us. Nice little crowd on X right now hanging out and talking about the Steelers and the Bills as we get ready. And again, on all the social media sites right there, at Steel City Sunday, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok. Boy, the TikTok videos have gotten real popular. I'm not a big social media guy. I understand what its place is, and I've started putting shorter videos out, and they're just starting to take off over there, which is nice. It's nice to get the content that we're trying to produce like everybody else is. But again, there's only a handful of pregame shows. You only get a handful of Steeler pregame shows. We're hoping that you're liking ours and that you'll make it a part of your regular routine when the black and gold plays. And I will tell you for 2026, we're going to have more content. We are working on other shows for baseball and for possibly hockey. Just keep with us, folks. We will continue to provide you Steelers coverage even through the off season, but we've got more shows we're platforming as well. We've started broadcasting Bill's show, the Pittsburgh Sports Desk, on it's normally Wednesdays. Are we Wednesday this week?
We're Wednesday this week.
I've been chipping in on that. I will say I appreciate you having me fill in for Ed while he's out. It's been fun to talk sports again, not just Steelers related. And having done it for so many years, there is always something to say about something. I would love to talk about Lane Kiffin. I'll tell you that right now. That guy bothers me.
Make a decision already, right?
It's just not even that. It's just college football is such a disaster right now.
It is.
It is such a disaster, an unmitigated disaster, not just with the coaches. Things have gotten really worse with the coaches, but the NIL has completely destroyed the player end of things. And I'm happy kids are getting paid, but the money that they're getting is just astronomical.
Wow.
And now they've got agents and people representing them while they're playing to try and get better deals because the portal will open up and allow them to just go somewhere else.
Well,
it's a mess.
I've said it before. They need to have some kind of contract that these guys sign. I mean that'll help mitigate some of this stuff, I think. But yeah, it's a disaster. I agree. It's a disaster. And it's hard coaching these days. It's hard being a college coach. I can see why Nick Saban decided to leave, and he just doesn't want to deal with this NIL. Guys like Dabo Swinney as well. They haven't. He's another guy who hasn't really conformed to this whole NIL stuff. He just kind of wants to ignore it and hope it goes away. It's not going away, folks. It's here to stay.
Yeah, it is. Unfortunately for the NCAA, they just didn't think any of this through. None of this was through. There's Ed checking in via Facebook. Lane is meeting with his team now. He's expected to sign with LSU today. What a total disaster. We'll talk about more this Wednesday. I want to, obviously it's a Steelers pregame show, but it's just the most insane thing. He's going to
7 years, $100 million. I would sign too.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, of course. But I mean, you can't. Yeah. Why can't they do this at the end of the year? Is my question. But we'll talk about that on Wednesday.
Good question.
All right, waiting for Steve Cofield to join us. Link to L wise guy, Mr. Sunshine.
Okay. Do we need to send the link again?
No, okay. You sent it. You copied that and sent it to him. Hopefully he'll find it.
By the way, wasn't it awesome to have Greg Brown on?
It was.
I mean, it's just it's funny because I reminisce about those Bills teams. I mean, I was a young kid there in the '90s, but boy, they were fun to watch. I mean, there were so many good guys on those Bills teams back then.
Yeah, no, they were fantastic, and covering those games were great. I mean,
Tasker, I liked him. Tasker.
All of them. Yeah, it was. I probably covered 5 games that year. We had, I went to a couple of Browns games, went to a couple Steelers games. I was at the Steelers game in '92 when Aldel Gricko missed that 40-yard field goal in that 21-20 loudest game I think I've ever been at on a field. That was also the game where Rod Woodson knocked out Warren Moon. I've never heard a hit. That sound still echoes in my head.
Then Cody Carlson came in to finish the game. I remember that.
Yeah, and so I'll never forget being on the sideline of that game, looking at Moon. I was probably 15 feet from him.
He was out in space for a couple
No
weeks.
clue where he was, buddy.
Yeah.
No clue where he was.
Yep.
Yeah, he got leveled by Rod Woodson. It was pretty devastating.
Looks like he's in.
Okay. Steve Cofield going to be joining us live from Las Vegas, host of Cofield and Company, UNLV sideline reporter for football and basketball, does a live show on Sundays in Las Vegas on the Strip, 30-plus years in the sports talk business. We are pleased to be joined by Steve Cofield live from Las Vegas. He's putting his earbuds in. We're going to get him on here in just a second. How you doing this morning, Steve? Good morning.
I'm good, guys. How are you?
We're doing good. We're doing good. We appreciate you coming on board for Consig's Picks. Life in Las Vegas, my friend. I tell you, you've certainly had a good run out there. I wanted to ask you, when you first got to Vegas and now where it is today with professional sports, talk about what you've seen over 30 years, because there was no pro sports. You had UNLV, you had boxing, you had minor league sports. Now you've got the NFL, you've got a hockey team, you've got a baseball stadium being built, and I'm sure the NBA is trying to wedge their way in there. It's got to be nice as a professional. Talk about what you've seen over the decades and how it's just grown, if you don't mind, to start. Ooh, I think he froze. His phone froze. He's stuck there.
Freeze.
Yeah, he did freeze up a little bit. Oh, there he is.
There he is.
You have me?
There you go. We got you.
Yeah. So, John, when you were here, there wasn't a scintilla of hope that Major League Sports would come to Vegas. And, yeah, the fact that it's changed this much in 30 years is pretty insane. And, now we have the A's coming in another 2 or 3 years and maybe the NBA down the road, which is it's all kind of crazy. It's changed sports talk radio because obviously things we used to talk about we can't get to anymore. But there's plenty to discuss every day. It's busy every day.
Yeah, and you're very busy every day. I saw you were at the UNLV game against Nevada, back in Vegas now for a show. Yeah, it's good. Good to be in Vegas right now for sure. It's certainly the gambling capital of the world. Is still, I don't care what anybody says. I know things have obviously changed in the last 7 years with the legalization of it, across the country in New York and Jersey and almost every state with the exception of a handful. Of course, I moved to one for 4 years that didn't have it in South Carolina, but, I'm glad to be back where you can legally bet. Let's discuss that advent and that evolution of betting. It used to be call the 1-900 number. We'll give you the side. Maybe there's a total. Now you've got every prop that you could possibly imagine. Is there too much to bet on? Let me ask you that. Is there too much to bet on?
No, there's not enough. We need more. I'm actually disappointed that I'm disappointed that the NBA and the NFL are freaking out. I understand they've had some players who are undisciplined and frankly stupid for betting on themselves and betting on games that they're involved in. That doesn't mean there's a gambling problem. That means they have a gambling problem. But now the proposals are out there to kind of back down player props, and why do that? To me, the system actually worked. If you're a player and you want to bet on yourself, you want to put your career in jeopardy, you will be caught because legalized sports books are tracking it. So you will be caught and you're probably going to be prosecuted and banned from the sport. I actually think keep it at the same level, go even further. And if you can't educate players to not gamble, then that's on them. If they want to piss away millions of dollars in their careers, then they can do that.
Yeah, and especially for such a small amount of money. I mean, again, like you said, they track the anomalies of, hey, this player prop was bet for an insane amount of money, and, you see that happen. You certainly have some potential for collusion there. But let's not kid ourselves. Okay. Players have been gambling on sports for 100 years. The Black Sox scandal. I mean, we worked with Pete Rose, for crying out loud. You know what I mean? Paul Horning, Alex Karras. The list goes on and on. Officials, right? NBA officials point shaving in the colleges back in the 60s. It's nothing new. I mean, is it surprising? I guess, especially now with the amount of money that these guys can make. 20, 30 million, 40 million a year. I'm not saying guys at that level are going to be gambling on themselves, but you're right. If somebody wants to throw away a career where they could make 50, 60 million just to get a couple $100,000 or 20,000 in cash put in their hands, makes no sense. And yeah, they're going to suffer the consequences for it for sure. So and it goes
to me. The stronger legalization and more regulations around sports gambling is only going to help the integrity of sports. And frankly, the leagues need to look within to fix themselves and not point a finger at legalized sports wagering.
I don't disagree with that at all. Steve Cofield, 30-year plus sports talk veteran from Las Vegas, Nevada, joining us. What of the props? What are your favorites to bet on? Do you find yourself looking at anything specifically like touchdown props or yardage props for quarterbacks or players in general? What do you like prop wise that is something that you're always looking for an edge in?
So I don't want to be the head of the no fun radio host league, but I really don't bet props outside of the Super Bowl, and I do it for the Super Bowl just to have some extra action. I kind of look at while I say hey, put up more props, I understand that it's actually for the very casual bettor, and your return a lot of times on props is not great. And I know for the Super Bowl, I generally look for anything I can get that I think has some value on the plus side. If the public is heavily on something in Super Bowl props, I try to go the other way. I am, being here for as long as I have, I don't play many parlays. I play straight up, and folks who are listening, I mean, just winning straight up just to try to get like a 55% hit rate, basically you got to hit about 52.5 to just make money beyond the juice. Just to hit 55% is really freaking hard. In some of our contests out here that are publicly tracked, you'll get winners generally 63, 64%. You could have a miraculous season and pick upwards of 67, 68%. But if most people can't even pick 50%, and I understand the lottery ticket is a big draw with a 2-teamer, 3-teamer, and beyond, parlays are hard, man. And it's also why sportsbook apps, and I push a bunch of them here, it's also why they've got all their odds boosts and their parlays and their same game parlays out front, because they know that their rake on that, the hold on that is incredible. So again, I'm not trying to rain on the parade of prop players, but I would be really careful of playing props a lot.
It's so funny you talked about the hold. I saw a report a few weeks ago that FanDuel has about an 18% hold, which is astronomical, and it's because of the parlays. You're absolutely right.
Yep.
Because it's all they push. They push that magic and that hopium, and somebody out there, oh, look at this. He bet 12 legs and won 150 grand or whatever it is. It's pretty miraculous, really. To have that kind of hold on 18%. When the books were 5% for decades, right? A 5% hold was fairly average.
It's so tight in Vegas. They're generally at like 3, maybe 4%. So yeah, it's that has been incredible to see when books open up in new states. Their hold rate to start, because people go gaga over the parlays. They also they lose that initial deposit, so the players just get beat up badly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I saw that the Circa Grandissimo entered in a 6-way tie. That was pretty wild.
Yeah, it is wild. I'm actually surprised that, and I know there's a lot of money at stake, but I'm surprised that they did a 6-way split. I'm surprised that someone, this year didn't want to play for all of the money. But I guess if you're investing that kind of money at that level, at some point, you just judge it as a good investment with the split so that you get some kind of winning. Last week was a freaking bloodbath because I think Circa Survivor went from like 900 people inside of to like inside of 100. It had actually been a really interesting Survivor season, because usually there's a couple of weeks early on that just crushed the entire field, but people hung on for a long time. But last week was just terrible.
Do you play any of those? Do you get involved in any of those contests, just out of curiosity?
I'm in Circa Million, and that's just 5 games against the spread. And like even that, I mean, like I said, if you could pick 55%, I mean, you're doing well. The cool thing with the Circa contest, or like the Super contest, which was the original here in Vegas for one of these big contests, they have streamlined it so they offer quarterly prizes. So, the requirements to go, you probably have to hit 65% to have a chance at the win. I don't know, 62, 63% to be in the field where you're going to get some kind of money. The cool thing they introduced were quarterly prizes, so you can actually get hot for 4 weeks and maybe pull away a quarterly prize. But the positive of those is that the pot has gotten gigantic. I mean, the Survivor pot was just ridiculous this year. But the negative, just like the poker world, I respect the guys who won the World Series of Poker, say in the 80s, but when the field is hundreds of people versus the World Series of Poker that started getting pushed to 6 and 7 and 8,000. I mean, it just gets harder and harder to win. And when you have thousands and thousands of people in these picks contests, it gets difficult. Imagine what happens when some of the laws, about betting across state lines, gets knocked down eventually, and you have these national contests with hundreds of thousands of people. Imagine it's going to be like a freaking Powerball lottery prize, but with football picks throughout the football season.
One last thing before I let you go. Is there anything on the 4 o'clock slate that you like sidewise? Bills and Steelers, maybe, perhaps.
I know, right? I am going to take the Steelers. I don't like the way the Bills have played on the road. I don't like the way the Bills are taking care of the ball. Rodgers is back, right? Or are we going to wait until game time to make a decision on that?
He got announced on Friday. He was a full participant.
Okay, good.
He'll be starting on Sunday. He'll be starting in a few hours. So
I'll take the Steelers +3 if they can get that screen game going and maybe get a couple of turnovers. I just don't think the Bills are, much above a 500 team right now the way they're playing.
Steve Cofield, live from Las Vegas, Nevada. You can check him out on X. He's also on Instagram and TikTok. Steve, thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time. Really do appreciate it, sir.
Anytime, John. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Steve Cofield, Cofield and Company, ESPN Las Vegas, UNLV broadcasts, Sunday gambling show, man about town in a great city. We are going to have Nick Sabato shortly. I think he's close to standing. Did you say Jerry DePaul is backstage? Jerry must not read the text messages, the emails. Bring Jerry on. He may not be able to do 3 o'clock. I don't know. There's Jerry DePaula. How you doing, Jerry? I think he's getting set up now. How you doing, Jerry? Nope, can't hear me. Tell Jerry 3 o'clock. Send him a text, please. And let him know 3 p.m. I let Bill Sabato know. He's just getting parked. So he covers the Bills for the Niagara Gazette. He's going to join us for Behind Enemy Lines in just a few minutes. In the meantime, we'll get Jerry on for 3 o'clock hour, and we'll take him at that point in time. This is Steel City Sunday. I'm John Phillips. Don't forget, we are brought to you in part by Arch Masonry and Restoration. They are looking for block layers, brick layers, concrete finishers. They're looking for labor help. No experience, no problem. They have programs that can help you get a jump start into a building trades career where you learn on the job. 412-564-5733 or archmasonryinc.com to learn more. Arch Masonry Inc. has been joining us for the entire season. We're very happy to have them on as a sponsor. Let's go to our next guest. That's what we do here, guests who know things more than I. That's for sure. And this guy knows a lot about the Buffalo Bills. Why? Because the Niagara Gazette pays him to cover the team. We are pleased to be joined. It's the big build-up, Nick. It's the big build-up. You know what I'm saying? I try to do my best to make sure everybody sounds good. And I got a chance to read a little bit about some of your stuff online. Nick Sabato, who covers the Bills for the Niagara Gazette, joining us on Behind Enemy Lines. Thanks for coming on board. How was the drive down from Western New York, sir?
A little wet, but we survived, so that's good.
That 90 stretch is always a joy.
Yeah. As soon as you hit the PA line.
Yeah, I used to live in Edinburgh, Pennsylvania, and I worked in Erie early in my career, so I'd be up in Buffalo quite a bit for Bills games, Sabres games, things like that. That drive was always something, especially between December and March. It was always like, what have I done with my life choices in my early 20s? You know, before you know it, there's like a foot of snow, and you're like, "Wow, like, how did I end up here?" You know. But that's part of the life on living on Lake Erie, I suppose. Okay, so you've been covering this team now for a little while. Let's talk about your thoughts on the current roster, the 2025 Buffalo Bills. What are your thoughts so far as they sit at 7-4?
I mean, I think they are as good as any contender in the league. They're a little banged up, but you look at all their losses. It took a lot to beat them, but teams did a lot to beat them. So they got to figure out how to solve that a little bit moving forward here. But I mean, the position they're in, they need to stack some wins here, and it needs to start today. Otherwise, things are going to get a little dicey for them.
Now, both these defenses have had their issues, obviously, right? Buffalo's run defense, I think, is 30th in the league. They give up a lot of yards on the ground. The Steelers have given up 30 points in 5 of 11 games this year. One more, and that'll tie the most that Mike Tomlin team has ever had in terms of, given the fact that this defense is about 160, 170 million spent on it, the return on investment has been in the negative, to say the very least. What do you expect from the Steelers today, given that Aaron Rodgers, coming off of the injury from a few weeks ago, they sat him last week in the hopes that, starting, Mason Rudolph would, lead to a win. It did not. Now they get Aaron back with a cast on. What do you think the Steelers are going to try to do? Do you expect them to try to run the ball at least 30 times today? I mean, is that the method of operation against the Bills to be successful?
Well, it depends on, can Aaron Rodgers take snaps under center? Yeah. If he can't, that could bode well for the Bills' run game, because you're probably going to be a little more static. The Bills struggle to defend the run with teams who use motion a lot. For whatever reason, they know it. They know that motion a lot of times is window dressing, and they still struggle with it. So if the Steelers are just going to line up and play, that bodes well for the Bills, I think, because the numbers don't look good for their run defense, but they're near the top of the league in TFLs. So that should tell you that they don't have a player issue. But for whatever reason, they have some issues getting lined up, schematics, whatever it is. They're completely at two ends of the spectrum there. So it's a weird run defense.
So you talk about scheme has been an issue here as well. All right. Why do you think it's just coordinators get locked into something and they're unwilling to change? What do you think that is?
I mean, you look at the Bills. Anybody who comes to Buffalo, a defensive player, says how complicated this scheme is, and that's one of the reasons they've been very good with Sean McDermott, and one of the reasons they can be inconsistent at times. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on pre-snap. Sometimes teams have taken advantage of them just not being lined up at the snap. We've seen some coverage busts. Just it's all communicative, and so that's kind of the issue they have there. Is they fool a lot of quarterbacks with their pre-snap disguises, but they have a tendency to fool themselves sometimes too.
We are talking with Bills reporter Nick Sabato. He covers the Bills for the Niagara Gazette. Drove down this morning to cover the game at Acrisure Stadium. 4:25 p.m. kickoff. Steelers and Bills, critical game for both teams. I argue that it's more critical for the Steelers, given the fact that they've already lost to the Chargers. If they lose to Buffalo, and the Bills stay in that 7, maybe move into the 6 spot, who knows where they end up after, the games are played out this weekend. Real critical for the Steelers to win this game, especially heading into Baltimore next week. Bills have a little bit of leeway still with 7 wins. You've got teams that have already played behind them that are still at 6 wins. Houston, of course, is one of them. They're playing right now. They have a 3-0 lead in Indianapolis, but Kansas City lost. And they did beat Kansas City. That's helpful. Baltimore losing is helpful as well. This real desperation time, I think, for the Steelers today.
Yeah, I mean, the Steelers still have, I think, after Thursday, still have a shot at division, but they have to keep winning, obviously.
Right.
This one is big for the Bills from a division standpoint also. Like, they don't want to fall 3 games behind the Patriots because that's going to pretty much end it. I mean, right now there's still a mathematical shot not only for the division, but the number 1 seed. Obviously, they're going to have to beat the Patriots in a couple weeks and then get some help. But I think losing today would make things real hard.
Yeah, without a doubt. Are you surprised at New England this year? I think a lot of people are. Are you surprised at how they've just gone on this? What is it, 9 in a row now they've won? 9 straight?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see a 10-win team when they were in Buffalo. I thought that was a game where, I mean, the Bills turned the ball over 3 times, and a couple of them on their own side of the 50, and it still took a 52-yard field goal with 15 seconds left to beat them. I thought there were moments where I think if the team that I saw, I think if the Patriots had turned the ball over 3 times, the Bills would have run away with it. It's a long time ago though, and they just keep winning. You have to respect that.
Yeah, absolutely. You absolutely do. A couple more minutes with Nick Sabato. He covers the Bills for the Niagara Gazette. This is our Behind Enemy Lines segment where we bring somebody in from the opposing side of things to give us some more perspective. James Cook having an amazing year. It's already over 1,000 yards. You know, in the era of a 17-game schedule and 1,000 yards being diluted, to have that 11 games in is pretty impressive. He's having a really nice season.
Yeah, and he was dinged up. He was nursing an ankle injury for a couple of weeks, and I think because he played, it kind of went under the radar. But I don't know that he was healthy for a couple of games there, I think against the Chiefs and the Dolphins. But he looked pretty good against the Chiefs or against the Texans. And I think missing 2 offensive tackles today, that's going to be a big deal to make sure that he gets going. I mean, who knows what the field conditions are going to be like with the weather, and then what Pitt played yesterday. So that could be a big deal for the Bills today to establish James Cook.
All right, before I let you go, I wanted to give you a little feel of Western New York on this show. One of our regulars on this broadcast who covers the NFL for us, a Western New York guy himself. We're going to bring Zig Fracassi in here real quick, just because Zig and I worked together 30 years ago, and I'm desperately looking for somebody to talk Bills. He's like, you should reach out to that Nick Sabato guy. He's fantastic. And I'm like, okay, sure, why not? And you were great. You were like, responded right away, and that's why Zig's the man, Nick.
Oh, Zig's not from Western New York. He's from the Falls. There's a difference.
Oh, wait a minute now.
Because they're going to start arguing about who's got better wings next, I'm assuming, right? Or where you get your beef on Weck, right?
Hey, that's right. That's right. It's Honey. It used to be Honey's Pizzeria or Sammy's, but that's foreign compared to Buffalo and Cheektowaga and everything. What's going on, Sabato?
Well, in a couple of weeks when the Jets come, Dan Laberfeld is going to be disappointed that they haven't built Zig's statue in the Falls yet.
That's true. They still haven't built that damn thing. So,
all right, hey, Nick. Before I let you go, and I appreciate you coming on board. You're such a great sport. Prediction on today's game, please.
I had the Bills 29-25. I think Josh Allen took one on the chin last week, and I think he's going to be itching one way or another to get one back here.
I agree with you. I know the Steelers lost, and they're just this team that's just like 1 week you just don't know week to week. It didn't help them that Buffalo lost last week. That's what I feel. I feel that your prediction is, and by the way, that could be a scoregami 29-25. That in and of itself could be the story. Nick, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate your time. Enjoy Acrisure and today's game. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anytime.
All right, Nick Sabato, Niagara Gazette for our Behind Enemy Lines segment. Zig Fracassi of SiriusXM's NFL Radio for our NFL Whip Around. Good afternoon, sir.
How you doing there, JP? Isn't Nick a very talented young man? Does a terrific job covering that team for the Niagara Gazette.
Yeah, no, solid. Just knows his stuff and just was really nice. I drove down this morning Good timing with a 4:25 kick, nice early leave. But I've made those trips from Buffalo to Pittsburgh all too many times when I would go to Canada. And as I was telling him, this time of year, Interstate 90, it could be okay, and then it could be all hell's breaking loose. Just hugging that Lake Erie. You just never know when 3 feet of lake effect snow is just going to come sneaking up on you.
Oh, I know that, man. I've done that drive several times myself. It's just, you get past that southern tier there, and you're thinking, all right, maybe I dodged it, and then you get like 10 feet of snow in front of you after.
So let's talk about the early slate here. Not a great early slate. Houston and Indianapolis, seemingly the best game right now, although the Rams and Carolina are in an entertaining contest as they approach halftime. So far, Zig, we're 6 weeks out now from the end of the regular season.
Right.
Who's the best team in this league right now, in your opinion?
Very good question. I would say at this point, and they're in a dogfight today, the Rams. And how about this, JP? Matthew Stafford hadn't thrown an interception in 10 weeks. He threw 2 in the first quarter. In fact, 1 got returned for a pick-6 touchdown by the Panthers, but then they come right back to tie it, the second score of the day, to Devontae Adams. To me, they have a perfect mix of veterans, younger players, and, of course, Aaron Donald, the great Pitt product and all that. People thought that defense would fall off the face of the earth. It has not. Stafford's dialed in, and I think JP's got to be considered the favorite for the MVP at this point. So through week 12 or 13 now that we're into the NFL, my humble 2 cents, I think it's the Rams. They're the most complete team to me. So I would say LA.
Yeah, they have. They certainly have looked pretty good, and of course they defeated Seattle last week, and those teams are fighting it out in the NFC West. Bill Aiken's going to jump in here for a few moments. Go ahead, Bill.
Hey, Zig. No, I agree. Rams are. I mean, they're the team so far. But what about this? This back injury. Did this thing just magically heal for him, or?
Yeah.
I can remember at the start of the season, they're like, "Oh, this is going to be bad. This is really going to hamper him." It's the type of injury, the type of back. I mean, a back injury is never good as it is, but the type of injury they were saying, "Oh, this is going to be tough for him to bounce back from." And it's just like, wow. I don't know. They must have. Very good doctors out there in LA. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, or the California water or whatever it is. And also, Bill, let's not forget, too, that I know was doing a bunch of off-season shows, and it was brought up more than once.
Yep.
What do the Rams do with the quarterback situation? Because Stafford is 37 years old, as you mentioned so very well, off that back injury. And obviously they have Garoppolo in, who's got starting experience. Some thought that maybe Jimmy G may be the heir apparent, and he might still be, but they got the contract resolved, and as you talked about with the back, apparently now it's not an issue at all. So it's been a very good time for Matthew Stafford, and who knows, maybe he's getting near the end like his buddy Clayton Kershaw did, and maybe goes out with a championship like his buddy did with the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Very possible. All right, quick scoreboard here for you. San Francisco leads Cleveland 7-0 as they approach the 2-minute warning. Jacksonville leading Tennessee 15-3. Indianapolis 6-3 over Houston. These are all second quarter scores. Jets lead Atlanta 7-0. Rams and Carolina, most entertaining game of the day so far for sure. Panthers lead 17-14, 5 minutes to go, second quarter in that one. Tampa Bay with a second and goal at the Arizona 1 has a 3-0 lead.
Hey, JP, if I can drop in real quick on that Indy game, Sauce Gardner, of course, they made that big acquisition with the Jets. He left with a calf injury. It did not look good. He was officially questionable to return, so they're down a key corner. And let's not forget, too, Daniel Jones, and I don't know how this is possible, John, because none of us are doctors, but he's playing with a fibula injury right now. So you wonder, you wonder the long term of that. You wonder if maybe that's one of the reasons why he has struggled the last couple of weeks. He's been getting sacked more and everything like that. But a couple of injuries to watch there for the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, again, you're fairly accurate saying we're not doctors. I would think a leg bone. I would think a leg bone would be rather hard to play on, but for some reason,
I know, right?
I mean,
It's
I mean,
ridiculous.
it is ridiculous, but it also it speaks to people's thresholds of pain and athletes specifically and their ability to just have that mental ability to block it out somehow. And I'm not saying that they're not going into the blue tent to get a little, fix me up, right? And that happens all too often, unfortunately. But it's the price they pay. But it's why they're the best athletes in the world, right? I mean, really. I mean, I look at it as football players and hockey players are probably the best athletes in the world, right? Just mentally, or they're different human beings because of the punishment, right? Baseball and basketball, nowhere close. Yeah, okay, they're physical, they run around, and in the NBA, they're up and down the court, all well and good. These guys and their ability to just push through pain really is monumental.
Two quick observations there. One, it's got to be an injury where he can play through it. So I'm sure the good doctors there with the Colts wouldn't really risk further injury there. And to that point, JP, you mentioned hockey. Just a brief thing that came to mind the other day. Kyle Palmieri's been a long-time forward with the Devils, now with the Islanders. He tore his ACL in a game the other day. But what happened was he's in the corner. He's limping noticeably, but he skates around, passes the puck before he gets to the bench. Islanders score a goal. So talk about a guy going out in grand style with a torn ACL. He sets up a goal. I mean, that's legendary, for goodness sakes.
Yeah, it's these guys, what they're capable of is pretty amazing, no question about it. All right, Bills and Steelers on the 4:25 slate. Yeah. Got to be the best game of the late card, I would say, and huge implications. I say the Steelers need this more. I know that they are still in that very much, in the thick of things to win the division. It's probably win the division or out at this point. If they lose today, it's really about winning the division because they will have the Bills ahead of them and the Chargers ahead of them in that wild card area. Already wins ahead, at least by one, sometimes two, but also just outright victories. I think it's more critical for the Steelers today. What say you?
Yeah, I would go along with that. It's going to be very interesting, though, because both teams are going to be without their starting left tackles. And, in fact, Buffalo, with Dawkins and Brown both being out. So, Josh Allen got the tar beat out of him against Houston, and that was with those guys. So you got to wonder now if the Pittsburgh defense isn't licking their chops a little bit there. So, again, this is going to be, I think, maybe a tricky game. Josh Allen may have to have a 6-touchdown performance for them just to stay in this one. But I think the fact, JP, that the Steelers are at home, and also, the Ravens or the Bengals did the Ravens a big time favor the other day, beating them in Baltimore. So Pittsburgh's got a chance now to take the lead once again in the AFC North. That and home field, and how Rodgers is able to navigate through his injury. If he's able to do that, I'd probably have the Steelers by a field goal in this one.
Well, Zig, I was your colleague over at SiriusXM, Coach Haley, Todd Haley. I was running this by him today. I said, when I saw that game against the Texans and Bills, I said the Texans they just harassed Josh Allen the entire game. But I said the biggest thing that I saw with them, their edge rushers stayed in their lanes. They didn't over-penetrate.
That's right.
When you over-penetrate against them, that creates an open escape route for Josh Allen. He can either go up the middle, he can go to the side. He runs really good on the right. He tends to run to the right a lot. But he had 20 yards in that game, and they sacked him 8 times. So I think you just got to take a page out of what the Texans did. You gotta take a page out of that and put it into this game. Like I said, don't over penetrate. Don't create those escape routes for him. Contain him.
Now, in fairness, Bill, the Steelers, they don't have Will Anderson Jr.
Right,
and Danielle Hunter, but still, I think there's something to be said about that. And I also remember in that game, Texans didn't do a whole lot of blitzing. They didn't need to. So we'll see how the Bills navigate that again with both their starting tackles gone.
And great minds think alike, because Coach Haley said the exact same thing. He said Texans are a lot faster. It's a different defense. And I get it. But, like I said, I think you got to kind of, take that kind of, you got to take what they did and, I would say maybe a little, I'd say too high safety too. Do some too high safety shells,
There you go. I love it. Bill Aiken's defensive coordinator here. I love this.
Somebody's got to step in at this point with this defense. I mean, it's Zig, 3rd and goal at their own 2-yard line against the best rushing offense in the NFC, and they ran a nickel package with 2 down linemen.
I know. That was bizarre, wasn't it?
What are we even talking about? And then Tuesday at the presser, Tomlin gets pressed on it, and he's like, "Oh, I'm not going to talk about our schematics. Today. I'm not going to discuss that." I like the detail of the question, but I'm not going to talk about it.
That was Brooke Pryor that asked that, right?
No, it was Chris Carter from the Post-Gazette.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
Just, you know what I mean? Like, again.
It's mind-numbing, isn't it?
It is, and it speaks to a level of shelf life that everybody has in their profession, and especially in the National Football League. Like, this conversation's happening in Baltimore every day with John Harbaugh. I know it is, because I monitor that stuff down there, right? I follow a bunch of those guys, and it at some point the rubber's got to meet the road with Tomlin here in town. And I don't. That's the big question. The big question with everybody is, what's Rooney going to do at the end of the season? Obviously, right? They're not going to win the Super Bowl, right? We're not even sure if they're going to make the playoffs, right? If they make the playoffs, they're going to win the division. They're going to be 9-8. Okay, yeah, they'll host a game against who? Right. And this defense has just been atrocious all season long. I mean, they've got 20 turnovers. Okay, that's been a bright spot, but they just lost, their rookie nose tackle, who didn't start until week 3 of the season, and Derek Harmon. Yeah. So and they benefited from him coming into play. That was that Patriots game in week 3 where they forced 5 turnovers in that victory. So they lose him today. Okay, at some point, how do you just not scrap the whole thing? Right? It just becomes this. It's like what was the movie? It's like Groundhog Day. Yeah. It's like Groundhog Day over and over again.
What's the term insanity when you try the same things over and over, hoping for different results? So
definition of insanity. That's exactly right.
JP, and I know you're going to use that, steal my term that I'd like to use, but entitled complacency. You have this cachet built up like Tomlin does, and maybe he feels like he's the Teflon guy. Anything that comes his way is going to bounce off of him. But at some point, it gets to be a little bit on the, hey, maybe this is getting old. Maybe a fresher, new approach is going to be needed. But I don't know if the Steelers, you speak it better than I could, if they would be willing to accept either a significant or a complete tear down to get this thing started all over again. I don't know if they'll be patient to do that.
That's a great question. It really is.
An off-season question. But.
It's an off-season question for sure. One last question for Zig Fracassi before we let him go. Our Sirius XM NFL insider joining us on the broadcast every single week. Prediction on the game today, Zig. What do you think? Steelers and Bills. Who's going to win this one?
Again, I think this is going to be a tight affair. Allen might have to literally be a Superman without his 2 starting tackles in that one. That concerns me quite a bit. Kincaid may not be 100% going into this one either. So, and of course, if the Steelers with Warren and obviously Gainwell, Buffalo's defense has been a sieve, especially against the run this year. I think the Steelers try to do that. Maybe take a little pressure off Aaron. And like I mentioned earlier, because the fact now they can reclaim the top spot in the North after the Bengals win Thursday night. I'd probably have the Steelers winning this one like 30-27, somewhere in that area.
All right, I'm playing all the props over then. That's what I wanted to hear from you, Zig. All right, Zig Fracassi, I can't thank you enough, buddy. Every single week you continue to be a stellar guest. Thank you so much as always.
Yep, of course, post-game show tonight, Matt Sims and myself after Denver and Washington on Channel 88 in the Sirius XM app.
Zig Fracassi, you're the best. Thank you, sir.
All right, brother.
Sorry. Zig Fracassi coming on with us every single week to talk about the NFL, gives us his insight. He's been doing it for over 20 years on Sirius XM's NFL radio and over 35 in the business itself. Steel City Sunday rolls on. This portion of our broadcast brought to us by Arch Masonry and Restoration. Arch Masonry and Restoration is looking to hire people. Even though it is December and it is cold out, they are still working. They work year-round, folks. They are busy with restoration work, brick jobs, block jobs, concrete jobs. If you're in that trade and your company has slowed down and you want to get to work, you can find more details at archmasonryinc.com, or you can call them, 412-564-5733. If you're an inexperienced construction laborer who's looking to get moving and get working, don't worry. Arch will be happy to talk to you. Why? Because they have programs that will train you on the job and could potentially jumpstart your career into a building trade, like being a finisher, being a block or bricklayer. 412-564-5733. ArchMasonryInc.com is their website. Let's see. Mike Ostie is backstage. Mike Ostie, managing editor of West Virginia Sports Now, part of the Pittsburgh Sports Now family of websites. He's a national writer for Yardbarker. He is also on Sirius XM from time to time, dad of two, and proud West Virginia alum. Mike, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, and I also will add proud Central Catholic alum. Off of the victory last night.
Did they play? I didn't know. Okay, well, they're a juggernaut. They're just a juggernaut.
Another one. Looking for another one.
Yeah, wait. So wait, the
state championship.
I was going to say that's next week, right? Next week.
I believe next week. Yeah, I mean that's where they are now. I believe it's next week unless they take a break, but I believe it's next week. Yeah.
My cousin went to Central. I did not. I had to go to Swissville in Woodland Hills. So there you go.
I grew up in the Woodland Hills area with a lot of friends that went there, and growing up, they thought they were the top dog. But since then, it is totally flipped around, and Central Catholic actually another convincing playoff victory, 32-14, running all over Harrisburg. So looking for another state championship, another Whippeal Crown's already in the books. It's old hat at this point.
Old hat at this point, indeed. The Sports Lounge 757 says, glad to be a part of this great live show via YouTube. Thank you for checking in with us, sir. Mike, what do we think today? It's I don't know how to describe this game. These defenses are terrible.
They both need to win. Both teams need to win.
I agreed. Steelers have to win. I think the Steelers need to win more. Okay? I know they have a chance to win the division.
Yes.
But a loss really cripples any kind of like wild card talk at all, because they've already lost to the Chargers and will have lost to the Bills if that's the case today.
Yeah, and you flip it around, the Bills, unlike the Steelers, are fortunate to be in a division that is winnable every year. And yeah, the Patriots are very, very good and are going to take it this year, but the Bills thought entering the season they were going to run away with the division and likely still have a wild card cushion, even with this loss, depending on what goes on the rest of the year. So the Bills are in more of a surprising scenario this year, where the Steelers kind of knew they were going to be in this logjam, or at least you would figure. But they both desperately need a win. I would agree the Steelers need to win more, just because I think the Steelers are less likely to get a wild card, as you mentioned, than say Buffalo, even though the Patriots are likely going to run away with the division and they lost those games in hand has Buffalo. But these are two desperate teams. These are two teams that have been disappointing. These are two teams that have been on a roller coaster ride. And listening to Zig, I wouldn't be surprised at all with either result here. I kind of lean that I think the Steelers would probably do this, but part of this is what Zeiss always says. This is the Mike Tomlin special. Every single time the heat is turned on and everyone's out on the season and saying what we're saying, he ends up with a surprise victory, and this would be the path to crawl to 10-7. You probably got to get this one.
Yeah. I agree. I think 10-7 has to be the mark for a playoff spot. Period. Right? 10 wins for sure. Where the Bills, you would think. I agree. You would think. And again, just as you look at the way the things sit for Buffalo right now, they are already at 7 wins. The Chiefs have already lost. They own a victory over them. The Ravens have already lost this week. They own a victory over them. Right. I don't think they have. The Texans have the head-to-head. So, if the Texans win today, and they are up 10-6 right now, and the Bills do lose, now they're on the outside looking in. Right? They will. The Texans will have that victory over them. They'll both have the same record. It would be 7-5, and so Pittsburgh retains that 4 spot because they would be in the division lead. So yeah, I see the argument for both sides. I'm still saying it's more important for the Steelers.
Well, it's 100% more important for the Steelers because I guess I was going to argue they have more pressure and more heat on them from the media with the coach, et cetera, because Tomlin's been there so long. But that might not even be true because if the Bills end up anything with outside of a deep playoff run this year, they enter the year Super Bowl or bust, then Buffalo media is out on McDermott, and they probably need to start all over again despite having Josh Allen locked up. So, it's almost 2 teams in very similar situations. You could also argue maybe Buffalo has an easier stretch to end the year schedule-wise, also with already 7 wins. They will play the Bengals. Steelers know all about playing the Bengals. The Bengals kind of look more exposed, even though Burrow's clicking now, so maybe Burrow leads them on a run. But aside from that, should be a winnable game. They have the game against the Patriots. Probably a loss, but who knows? Is New England going to sweep them? Browns should be a win. Eagles have been vulnerable, and then the Jets should be a win. At minimum, Buffalo should probably get 2 more wins. And if, one of those other games they would flip, then they got 10 wins. So it almost seems like these 2 teams are in a fight to get 10 wins.
Yeah.
And the Steelers' 10 wins could maybe win them a division, whereas Buffalo's 10 wins would still not win the division. It would leave them as a wild card, but it's very unlikely that anyone who does not win the North is getting in the playoffs as a wild card right now.
No. Right now, as I'm looking at the division standings right now, you're probably going to get 2 out of the East. You'll probably get 2 out of the South, and you'll probably get at least 2 out of the West. The way things stand right now, that's the way I would think it's going to play out.
The only chance is if the Bengals go undefeated the rest of the way, and then somehow they would crawl in. Either the Steelers, they leapfrog the Steelers, end up with the division title, or they somehow end up with a really down AFC. Buffalo loses some games, and they end up as a wild card, and Pittsburgh wins the division. That would be wild. You have to remember, it seems very crazy and unlikely that the Bengals would even be part of this. I wrote about this after the game on Thursday, and people kept replying, they're 4-8. John, they were 4-8 at this exact point a year ago, and they were in the race until the final day of the season. So it sounds insane, but if they win out, they're probably in the conversation, and they probably would lose by maybe 1 game. And if they would have swept the Steelers, they'd probably be in. So again, this game is important because you could argue that if Steelers lose this, they're out of the conversation a little bit, unless something else happens around them. They need to freaking get some wins. The NFC loss isn't that big of a deal, even though the fans hate it. But this is a conference loss. If you would lose, it would be a conference loss.
Yeah.
You got to get it.
Yeah, and again, it would be at home and against somebody who you would be chasing and essentially has a 3-game lead, right? They would have 8 wins. The Steelers would have 6. It's a 3-game lead because they own the tiebreaker.
Yeah, that would be
5 games to go.
You would be kissing that goodbye. And again, the only path would still be the AFC North winning the division. And you'd have to be relying on Joe Burrow does not make a run, the Ravens stay collapsing, and the Browns stay a mess. And the funny thing is, people did bring this up, that the Steelers, it would almost be fitting for the Steelers to win the division going 9-8, or for Tomlin even to lose and end up losing his winning streak of winning seasons, end up with a losing season for the first time, but somehow still win the division, because this division is, in all honesty, flat out bad. I mean, the North is just a bad division. They could win this division with under 10 wins if things break right.
I think it was Chris Muller that tweeted watch Tomlin win the division at 8-9 and go on to win the Super Bowl, right?
That would be.
I mean,
that would be Tomlin. Perfect.
It would be the irony of ironies, is what it would be, and
that really would be ironic. I saw Mark Caboli put that out too, but yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that would be some really voodoo magic type of karma, I would think. Mike Ossie, our special guest here every week with the mic drop. Of course, national writer for Yard Barker. You, of course, managing editor for West Virginia Sports Now, part of the Pittsburgh Sports Now family of websites. And speaking of the Bengals, and you talked about them winning out. They have to go to Buffalo next week.
Right.
It's a 1:00 game. Then they got Baltimore at home. And then the last three, Miami, and then 2 at home against Arizona and Cleveland. I mean, look.
I mean, it's in play. It's in
right.
play.
It is in play. The fact that they have 8 losses does not help them, though.
No, I mean, this is just death taxes, and every single. It's almost old for even people, watching from afar. Every single season, they start slow. Burrow gets hurt. They turn it on at the end. They end up with the game out. Just being a fan of football and loving to watch someone as talented as Burrow, it's almost annoying this keeps going on every year because they should be better to avoid this. But yeah, it's unlikely they're going to win out. You would imagine if they don't win out, they don't have a shot. But the schedule does put this in play. If the next 2 games are swing games, they're winnable, but they're losable. They win those 2 games, then everyone else, the Steelers, Buffalo, whoever, is going to be pretty nervous because those final 3 games are going to be relatively easy. If they have momentum, they're clicking, Burrow's healthy, and they got 2 wins in the books. They could definitely win those final 3 for sure.
By the way, just in case you were wondering, and I'm sure you are, I bet on the Saints today. They're scoreless. And I bet on the Titans today, and they have 3 points. So there you go.
Okay. Well, you probably figured that blind squirrels eventually would find an acorn, and those teams would eventually do something.
I am easily the worst gambler known to man, is what it is. I am Eddie Mush. From the why is the
well, you told me a story I remember once when I was sitting in while you're hosting on The Fan that the legend of all legends of sports gamblers in Pete Rose wasn't really the best in terms of actually winning those bets. I recall.
No, he bet on horses. And he occasionally the dogs, but he was a horse. He bet on horses. Never placed a winning wager when I was with him ever.
Didn't he also bet against the Lakers dynasty in the 80s? Like, wasn't he like I heard that rumor. Maybe that just sounds too
He's
ridiculous.
like Krusty the Clown. He bet on the Washington Generals to beat the Globetrotters.
Right.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
So.
How much of Kenny Gainwell do you expect to see today?
We'll see. I mean, I guess a lot of this is hard to go off of what anybody's saying, but I know you were talking with Zig there. The Buffalo is so banged up here that's the advantage for Pittsburgh. I would think that Buffalo is maybe poised to get this win. They've still been putting enough up offensively, even in recent weeks. Josh Allen's certainly the better quarterback right now, if you want to give them an edge just QB wise. But they're so banged up, and that could be such a problem for them that's really the path forward to the Steelers. And is that a bigger deal than how limited Aaron Rodgers will be? So that'll be a question as well. But to be out lineman and have Allen have even more on him, John, will be really interesting because he's also starting to show some frustration, it appears, on what he's been dealing with in recent weeks as their season, again, kind of goes downhill.
Yeah, no, fair assessment. Let's talk about Josh Allen. I mean, obviously, James Cook, obviously a threat, no question. And this run defense has had its share of bad days. Collectively, how do I think it's pretty simple. Run the ball 30, 35 times at least. Keep them on the sideline. Right. You have to. We talked about this with Paul earlier. The Steelers have lost the time of possession battle this year.
Right.
On average, by about 5 minutes a game.
That's
they
crazy.
Cannot allow the Bills to have a 5-minute advantage. It's going to spell disaster. And that means, I think, seeing a mix of Gainwell and Jalen Warren.
Right.
And again, I'll go back to this. They should have re-signed Najee. They should have brought him back for at least one more year.
Yeah, I mean, he's hurt, so I guess that.
Right, and who knows if the injury happens. I hear ifs and buts, right? But I just was never sold on Jaylen Warren being the RB1. I've just never have been.
No, and I will tell you this: the Steelers aren't either. Clearly, based on how they use Jaylen Warren, the Steelers aren't either. And I said last week I would give him the rock more and at least try it out because, and you're mentioning with Gainwell, the issue is Rodgers is going to play. However, he's not. The reports are he's going to be under center very minimally. He's going to be in the shotgun a lot, which basically means that he's going out there because they are desperate. It almost feels like that if they had 8 or 9 wins already on the board, he probably wouldn't be going out there. And they know, based on what we saw last week, that Mason Rudolph's not going to be giving them enough. I think he's an okay backup, but the mistakes were too plentiful. They can't risk it again. They're in win-now mode, even if Tomlin refuses to admit any of that, which means you need a running game. We talked about going into the season. When you have an older quarterback like this, even if Rodgers plays at his best, you got to have a run game. Yeah, you let Najee Harris walk, and it goes back to the old Pittsburgh media debate on do you draft him in the first round, because it was unlikely to keep him after the first contract, and they didn't. And they didn't have anyone to replace him. They don't love Warren enough to be a featured back, yet he was there pretty much cast into the role, but they wouldn't give him the rock enough. Do you give Gainwell the rock? How do you disperse the rock? I'd imagine Gainwell got to play and got to get enough carries, no matter what anybody says, because Aaron Rodgers is limited and because Aaron Rodgers is going to likely be in the shotgun so much. And he's also not going to throw 35, 40 passes if you want to win. So the recipe of all that together is you have to establish yourself on the ground. And it could be as simple as this, John. If you see early on in this game, the Steelers are struggling to maintain any success on the ground, regardless of who's touching the rock, they're probably dead in the water. Because, again, Aaron Rodgers is not going to throw 40 times and lead you to a victory when he's less than 100% in this situation. Maybe he does, but it's hard to bet on it, whether he's in the shotgun or not.
Fair enough. I want to ask you about the other night, Friday, actually.
Okay.
The Eagles are trailing. Black Friday. So the Eagles are trailing Chicago, and they are they're 15 points behind, right? They score a touchdown.
Yeah.
They decide to go for 2 with 3 minutes to go in the game. And they don't make the 2-point conversion, which forces them to get 2 possessions in a game with 3 minutes to go.
Right.
Big, massive debate online. Greg Olson was talking about it being the absolutely right decision, and analytically, here's why. I wanted to ask this of Haley, and it slipped my mind. I'm going to ask this of you.
Okay.
If you're down 15 in that scenario, is going for 2 the right call, or do you kick the extra point? You did miss one earlier, but do you still kick the extra point and give yourself 1 possession to get the ball back one more time and try to tie the game?
Yeah, it might go down to how much you trust your defense, too. I mean, because you don't have much wiggle room to, like, for example, the Steelers defense allowing all these yards and hoping for a turnover after 6 minutes with the football for the opponent. That wouldn't work in this scenario. So can you flip a turnover? Can you flip the field quickly? Can you allow a 3 and out and have that only be it? I probably would lean on the side of taking the extra point and trusting my defense, coaching that team. I do kind of get both sides of it, but the Eagles have been a weird dynamic this year because for a team that just won a Super Bowl, it does feel like the coaching staff does not really trust this team to deliver what they just delivered, whether trusting the defense in those scenarios or the offense being such a roller coaster ride this year. There's been some dissension, even locker room wise, and some comments from A.J. Brown. They've been a very polarizing team for a team that just won, and their fan base acts like they've never won. They just won, and they've won 2 recently. So it's kind of funny with them. But analytically, I would imagine, without even looking this up, I'd imagine analytically it would tell you to go for 2, because if you miss, you're probably likely to lose the game regardless. Even if you kick that extra point, I would imagine is the analytic answer. I would love to hear Todd Haley's answer to this, because he came up in even an older school era. Obviously has the coaching background that I don't. I would guess that he would support kicking that extra point and trusting the defense, unless you don't. I think that's what it boils down to. And the weird thing is, John, from a Steelers perspective too, and this is why maybe some Steelers fans are annoyed with Mike Tomlin over the years. We've seen Mike Tomlin make both decisions over the years. And it really boils down to, even though he won't admit this, how much you trust your defense in that scenario to get you the ball back with enough time. Because I guess the issue would be, I would not want to have to try to convert an onside kick, because those are basically almost a zero-sum chance. They're so rare to convert. If I got to decide between 2-1 conversion or an onside kick, I definitely don't want to rely on the onside kick. If you're telling me there's 3 minutes left, I can probably try to get that football back. But how much do you rely on your defense to get that ball back? Because if they allow one first down, and it's certainly a deep pass, you're probably dead in the water. It's probably a low percentage to have a chance anyway, if you look at what ESPN has, because they break down the percentages as games continue on. But I probably would want to throw up the extra point there. I mean, I covered a game even a couple weeks ago, West Virginia, when they lost to Arizona State. A lot of the fans were mad when Rich Rod shied away from field goals and was going for it on fourth back in the first half. They lose in a close game. You kick those field goals. People think they would have won. The counter, and I guess the only defense of a coach there is this is what you're talking about at the end of the game for Philly. But in those scenarios too, it's hard to point to total score and say this is what would have happened if you would have done something in the first half. The trend of the game, how the momentum's going in that game, that also depends on what coaches do. But you have a younger coach in Philadelphia who, you would imagine the stereotype is most younger coaches just are absorbing analytics more than others.
Yeah, it's the wrong decision. Okay, I mean, it's just 3 minutes to go in the game. Okay, you wanted to rely on your defense to force a turnover. You need 2 possessions in a 3-minute game, essentially. I mean, right. To me, it's simple math, right? It's simple math. Getting
it's
a
not
turnover.
30 seconds left, though. It's not 30 seconds. It's not a minute. That's the difference. I think the fact that it's 3 minutes versus 2 minutes is a big difference to what I'm saying. If it was 2 minutes left, then 100%.
Yeah, right. The window's so small at that point, right? It's one first down to the 2-minute warning if
first
you have
down
your 3.
Ended. Yeah.
Well, if let's say you have your 3 timeouts, right?
Right.
It's a first down to the 2-minute warning. If you don't have your 3 timeouts, I'd have to go back and look and see where they were at on all of that. But I just thought bad.
Yeah.
You want to take it to one possession 100% of the time, as far as I'm concerned. You want to take it to one possession. But again, it's a great debate.
I guess the debate also is, and my last point on this, I don't disagree with what you're saying, but if you kick the extra point and then you stop them, you have a chance no matter what.
Right.
But if you miss the 2-point conversion, you're pretty much done.
Well, but at least you got to the path. At least you got to the bridge. They didn't even get a chance to get to the bridge because they added an extra possession. That's to me, it's about getting to the bridge. Can you cross it at that point? If you don't, okay, you didn't. But at least you get to the bridge. That's my take on it all. Yeah. It makes no sense to look. The reward's there if they get it, right? And it's always second. You're looking back, and
if you get it, no one's talking about this.
Right, no one's talking about it. But the reality of it is that I've seen this happen on more than one occasion. I mean, in fact, in scenarios of this nature, it's almost and always going to be a 2-point conversion because the analytics say so. And I would like to argue that I think what's the conversion percentage across the board in college football and the NFL on 2-point plays? It's less than a third.
Yeah,
I think it's 30%.
I'd imagine it's less in the NFL than college ball. I'd imagine it's more likely in college ball.
Right, and so therefore it's weighted against your favor in a successful try. I'd rather have one of those to make than and it be on a last possession where you're within 2 points, then hey, we're down 9 points right now. Let's make it 8 instead of trying to make it 7.
It also gets in the debate where we've seen in both college ball and the NFL over the years that if you get down in a scenario in the final seconds and you do end up coming back and you put both of those 2 scores on the board, do you decide to go for the win with a 2-point try or kick the extra point there in the final second to tie the game and go into overtime? That brings that up too if you ever are in that scenario. And we've seen coaches say, let me go for the win, and then you lose in comparison to just take that extra point there. So it'll eventually cut you both ways. But yeah.
2-point conversion rate's 31%.
So I was right. 30. I was close. 30%.
Yeah, you were right on the money there, basically.
And it was actually 41% in 2022.
Oh, so that's interesting that's a significant drop in the last several years. It's not like it's been that long of a period
drop,
of time.
yeah.
I wonder, and we'd have to look into this further. I wonder if it's a 10% drop because there are more teams trying 2-point conversions than before. So if you have way more attempts, the percentage can come down quicker. I wonder if that's part of it, or maybe you're getting less. That would be something.
So, I mean, it says factors. Teams are attempting 2-point conversions more frequently, which leads to more total attempts, including failures. So,
okay, so that was the assumption. That's the assumption based on that dropping so significantly. Yeah.
All right, Mike, let's get a prediction on today's game. Who do you think wins?
So I think the Steelers do win this game. I think, honestly, even the football gods want the Steelers to win this game just for the chaos that we opened up talking about here. If Buffalo wins this, the chaos is less likely. If the Steelers win this game, you got Buffalo still in play, the Steelers still in play, Bengals trying to win out. It gets a little bit more funky and interesting. I'm going to say the Steelers do this on more of a 26-23. I think that there's going to be some limiting for both offenses. You would think the Bills maybe have it on paper, but they haven't really been playing like that. The Steelers got to get some semblance of a running game, no matter who's giving you that chance on the ground in order to have this happen. And Rodgers has to. I think Rodgers maybe will do what Mason Rudolph was supposed to do last week and kind of manage the game. I don't expect him to have 300 yards, but maybe manage the game with enough around him. We'll see if DK can get open because he's been double covered so often. We'll see if big plays happen. They couldn't happen last week. We'll see if they do enough on the ground. I think the Steelers get this win. And if they don't, instead of having a weekly conversation on Tomlin's future, John, we are going to have maybe the annoyance for Pittsburgh media and for the fans. It is going to be perpetual for 4 or 5. We're going to be talking about it like it's the offseason. That's going to be the media conversation now. And it's going to be that heat turned up, and we'll see what actually occurs there. But I think the Steelers get this done. This is, again, a Mike Tomlin special, as Zeiss would always say here. Back against the wall, season on the line, got to try to have a chance still with that winning season. You got to keep it interesting for the football gods. Tomlin somehow pulls this off. But part of me also feels like the Bills eventually get off the snide here. They're too good to keep dropping games as well, even though they are on the road. So I'm going to go Steelers, but I would not be shocked at all if Buffalo would take it.
And they're angry. That loss to the Texans, I mean, they're angry.
Right. They should have got that win. If they would have that win, I'd almost be weirdly more confident in the Steelers getting this. But they are now desperate. They are angry. They kind of started saying in their interviews, Allen was, that we're not going to let this happen again. If they lose the Steelers, they're going to be facing a lot of venom.
I mean, the Texans just harassed Allen the entire game. 8 sacks, limited him to 20 yards.
He can't play there. He can't. Like every game in his career there is so bad. But yeah, this is also another reason that we didn't get into what the Texans did to Josh Allen in Buffalo. The Steelers maybe could mirror. I mean, I've been writing all year the Steelers defense is not that great and been overrated all year. But the one thing they do if they win is get a pass rush, get sacks, and use that to flip the field and get turnovers. They could do that against Allen. It's almost the perfect team they're facing in this scenario, as long as they get something going offensively. So this could be a similar problem for Josh Allen and the Bills if their offensive line doesn't hold up. And with their injuries, is he going to be protected enough to really go to work? That really is their issue this year, and maybe their excuse if they would lose again.
And I said it. The Texans didn't over pursue in their edge rush. They didn't over penetrate because that allows him running lanes.
Yeah, he moves. Yeah,
right. And they were able to contain him. They were able to contain him. He didn't have the escape routes up the middle on the outside. He didn't because they weren't over pursuing. They weren't over penetrating. They were staying in their lanes.
Yeah, I'd love, and I'm not going to be there. I'd love for somebody to ask Tom on this, and he'll probably lie and not agree that he did this. But I'd imagine he had to watch that film and kind of copy what the Texans are doing. I mean, he doesn't want to give that much credit to an opponent, but they put the blueprint out there. So I'd love to hear what he would say if the Steelers get a win. How much of watching that Texans film impacted your game plan here? Kind of that simple question. I'd love to hear
faster defense, Mike. I would say with the Texans.
That's fair, and a younger team, so maybe that allows more of that. But they put that blueprint in, and I'm sure Josh Allen is probably thinking going to the stadium, it's another team going to do the same thing, and I don't have my guys with me.
Yeah,
like this is the same scenario here all over again.
those tackles missing. I mean, that's big.
That's the factor. Yeah, that's the factor. He's undermanned with a team that wants to do the same thing that he couldn't fix last week. And as much as they could go to work and try to fix it, what could they really do in 1 week's time to fix anything they're doing to get against that game plan? I mean, they're just undermanned. There's nothing else they could do.
They're not. They're not.
And you know what? This is simplistic. This is very simplistic, but make the tackles painful, right? You know, deliver a firm, legal hit because he takes hits. Josh Allen takes hits.
Yeah. He kind of likes taking hits too. He has that Brett Favre in him that he doesn't want to shy away. So if he's going to play like that and have that mentality, I mean, this is football. Yeah. It's not illegal. Right. If he wants to take the hit, and then how many hits do you want to take?
Right. I mean, I don't know if you're gonna force him into hesitation when you do that, but I mean, just
what he needs to do. The only thing that Josh Allen can do, honestly, being undermanned and having linemen down in this scenario facing the Steelers team that's going to copy what the Texans just did, is he normally has a quick release, which is why he won an MVP. He needs an even quicker release. He needs 1 more second than what he's been. If it's 3, he needs 2. And that might be unfair, unreasonable, because can the receivers get open in time? But the Steelers secondary is still a problem, meaning a problem for the Steelers. So that's a weakness for Pittsburgh. And he maybe could try to expose it and tell his receivers, I need 1 more second quicker, win the 50-50 balls, win those battles. That's their weakness. The pass rush is the strength. I'm going to be quicker with the football and just hope the Steelers secondary does not get picks, does not win those battles. And that could be how Buffalo wins, because I don't think if anybody told the Steelers or any Steeler fan, well, hey, Josh Allen has a quick release, they get the ball off, and the Steelers secondary has a rough day, so the Bills win. Would that shock you? I mean, that's probably the plan if the Bills win it, but I do think the Steelers probably take this. There's too much going against Buffalo. This is also in Pittsburgh, but these are two teams that are absolutely in very similar situations. The Steelers oddly are maybe a little healthier as well, which is
Mike, I appreciate it. We're going to get to our next guest. I appreciate you coming on every single week with us. You're a great guy and great insight as always. Thank you, Mike.
I appreciate it, guys. Have a great day. Have a great holiday season as we kick that off.
There we go. Fair enough. Mike Gosty.
After Thanksgiving. Appreciate it.
Talk to you next week. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, man.
All right, Mike Gosty, managing editor of West Virginia Sports Style, part of the Pittsburgh Sports Style family of websites, national writer for Yardbarker. Now, to South Florida we go, and beating the bookie, our Consigs Pick segment. Rob, how are you, sir? Hopefully the audio working good this week.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it works this week.
You're good.
I think I figured out the problem, so.
You're good, man. Your Canes came up to Pittsburgh and laid the whip onto the Pitt Panthers. Boy, the ACC is a mess with Virginia and Duke playing for the championship game.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, they have probably the dumbest tiebreaker possible for Duke to get in there. So, but it is what it is, and I think Miami will get in the playoffs if Alabama loses the SEC championship, and if BYU loses Texas Tech, they should be in. So we'll see
those should be really 2 great games next week as the conference championships are coming around. Beating the Bookie, you can find him on X and on Instagram at Beaten the Bookie, BEATIN the Bookie, beatenthebookie.com as well. Rob has been a professional gambler for more than a decade. By far my favorite follow on social media. Your AI posts. I saw you did one with Bevo. You've been doing the Texas A&M AD. You took him out in handcuffs. In addition to providing tons of winners, it's very entertaining. Where did you discover this search engine to this thing that you're using? Because they are kind of funny. They're very funny, actually.
Yeah. Actually, I made some really funny Lane Kiffin ones earlier, but it's just an app called Sora, and you you just upload your picture, and you basically just tell them exactly what you want, and it makes it. I mean, it takes about 30 seconds. It's crazy. Technology is so good. It's wild.
Texas A&M AD getting hauled off had me. I was just on the floor. I thought that was great. I've enjoyed those immensely. You're having a heck of a day already. I've been monitoring your posts. I mean, you're already on fire this week. I mean, And again, soccer the other day, a parlay, you gave out some crazy one with Mbappe scoring at each half, and it's so hard, right? I talked to Steve Cofield about this earlier from Las Vegas. To maintain 55% winning percentage in anything is just hard to do as a professional. Yet you're able to just across the board, find these areas where you seem to be very consistent at. It's very impressive. And again, I know you're up early every day. Like, you don't sleep very much. You really, this is very much a living for you, but you do very well at it, sir.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's all I do, and I would say the old school, like, in the old days, you could only win 55%, and you do fine. But there was, you got to realize that today there's probably 100 times more stuff to bet than back in the old days. So
yeah,
we're lucky we have so much, to bet all around the world at any given time. So it's our advantage these days, that's for sure.
Yeah, yet the books continue to maintain these massive holds, but again, that has a lot to do with the parlays that they push on the general public. Thoughts on the early card today? Not a great early card. I mean, the Rams-Panthers game has been a wild one. That one's 24-21. But to get, let's talk about Steelers and Bills. Let me get your thoughts on that. Josh Allen, a one-man wrecking crew. He does have James Cook, but outside of that, it's Allen or bust for the Bills, it seems like these days.
Yeah, and you never know which Josh Allen's going to show up. Sometimes he's very safe with the ball, takes a few risks, but lately he's been real sloppy with the ball. He's starting to do those kind of turnovers that he would do a few years ago, where he's like throwing the ball away last second, like fumbling it away. And they're struggling. And part of the reason is, he's down, Kincaid, tight end. He's down a lot of players. Keon Coleman's been, suspended or wherever he's been, the last few weeks. And, it's just basically him and James Cook, and they're bringing in receivers, from seemingly like retirement, it feels like, to play. But, Josh Allen's always Josh Allen. So, anytime he's a quarterback for a team, they got a chance to win a game. So, I mean, one play I did like today is Josh Allen, rush touchdown plus 130. I played that because those are the best odds you're going to get on Josh Allen in quite some time. And as the years get later, he picks up his rushing touchdown total. So I do like Josh Allen plus 130 for a touchdown.
Wow, yeah, he's got 10 of them already this year. I don't know where that puts him historically in his career, but I know that's a big number, and still with 6 games to play. So, and plus 130 is a pretty good number for him. I've seen him mostly at plus 100 through most of the season, so I was a little surprised to hear you say that. How about Aaron Rodgers? When you see a quarterback like him, he's going to turn 42 this week. He's coming off this little injury. He's going to have some sort of cast on. Do you look at that as an opportunity to bet an interception prop over maybe on somebody like that?
Not really, because, I mean, it's not his throwing arm that's injured.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers, he's played through so many injuries in his career. This is just, another one. And, the problem that I see with the Steelers is it's more like the play calling, right? They should. If I was the Steelers, I would let Aaron Rodgers call the plays because, I mean, he's been in the league for so long, just like Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes. I would let all these guys call their own plays because they know what plays to run better than anybody else, no matter who the offense coordinator is. I think, Tomlin plays too safe. Most of the time plays way too safe. He tries to rely on the running game way too much. I mean, they got to throw the ball more. And I think, what I'm starting to like what I see with Darnell Washington. I took Darnell Washington 2+ catches today, minus 140.
Okay.
He's really starting to come on. And, once, as we saw like last week, once Darnell Washington catches the ball and starts running with it, like there's barely a few people in the NFL that can bring him down. So I like Darnell Washington. I think, Rodgers will start utilizing him more. And obviously, DK Metcalf's got to get some more targets and stuff, but they really need some more receivers to come on. Pat Freiermuth, they got to get him some more targets, and I think they should just throw the ball a lot more. So, and that all comes down to protection. Can they protect him? And the offensive line has to do well for Rodgers to do well, obviously.
How about Jonnu Smith? I mean, he had 88 catches last year in Miami. I mean, why aren't we throwing the ball more to him?
Now I can't hear anything.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. I couldn't hear him talk.
So Bill was asking about Jonnu Smith, who had to play with your favorite NFL quarterback last season.
Yeah.
He had 88 catches last year, and they just haven't used him. The fact that they don't have a wide receiver too, and I know he's a tight end, why can't they split him out? Why can't they put him out there? You know,
And
as
he's
a receiver.
he's a fast receiver. I mean, he's a fast tight end too, so he's kind of like a Kyle Pitts. I mean, he's the guy they should split out more wide like that. But like Tomlin likes to play way too conservative. I think that's the problem. He needs to open up. He needs to take more chances. You know, like last week, you know, like you have one of the best kickers in the league with one of the strongest legs. You're not trying the field goal at the end there instead of like a fourth down play. So Tomlin needs to like open it up, like get more creative. It's just sometimes he's so conservative, it's just ridiculous. You know, when Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback, you can take a lot more risk than you can with Mason Rudolph. So, you know, hopefully he lets Rodgers, you know, let it fly today. But, you know, I really doubt that'll be the case. But, you know, luckily for the Steelers, the Bills defense can't seem to stop anything. So they have to take advantage of that, you know. So, you know, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, they should take advantage of it. Now you can't hear anything at all? I don't know. That's why I was going to say don't switch back and forth. I don't know. Let me see if it's my headset. Let me try. Can you hear me now, by any chance? Nope.
Nothing now.
But okay, it's all right.
I guess that's it. So
I'm sorry, man.
I'll be rooting for the Steelers for you guys. So
I appreciate it, Rob. We can hear you. I hope. All right, thanks, Rob. Thank you.
Guys now.
That's okay. That's all right. Thank you.
All right, see you guys. Thanks.
All right, Rob. Beating the Bookie, BEATIN the Bookie on Instagram and X. We had some technical. We had it working and then we didn't. That's okay. That's okay. The fact that he gives us time, the fact that people give us time is fine. I cannot hear you, by the way. Let's see if Jerry DePaula is. Jerry close.
Can you hear me now?
No, I can hear you just fine now. Everything's we're working it out. It's what these Wild Wild West shows on the internet are. Yeah, let's bring Jerry in. We'll get the show wrapped up 3:30. How you doing, Jerry DePaula?
Good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine, sir. Nice. I like the Chris.
How are you?
I'm good. How are the Lopes doing? I didn't see anything this weekend. Did they win? Yeah.
The Lopes beat Penn Cambria the other night. Friday night they played state championship game against Northwestern Lehigh for the second year in a row. I think it's the game is 1:00 Saturday afternoon.
Where's that going to be at, Jerry?
At a high school, at Conemaugh Valley High School, somewhere in the middle of the state. It's about almost Altoona. It's a shame they don't play these games at better venues. But from what I understand about this high school, it's one of the better looking high schools facilities in the state, and it's a nice place to play. So we'll see.
I have maintained since they brought the state championship to Pennsylvania, which I think was 88 or 89, was the first year. I've always maintained that State College should be the designated place for them to go play.
Cost thing, isn't it, John? They don't want to spend the money, do they?
Well, that's a shame on Penn State. It's shame on Penn State. Okay.
Another discount. You're saying they should give
I'm
a
not.
discount?
Of course they should. Of course they should. How much is their endowment worth? Number one. What did you know what I mean? I'm not saying that it doesn't.
They pulled that close to their chest.
Yeah, of course they do. And again, don't want to get off topic here. This is a Steelers pregame show, but the fact of the matter is that shame on Penn State for not trying to make that happen at a cost-effective manner. It would be amazing if Pennsylvania's high school championships could all end up there in Happy Valley. It's centrally located. It's 100. It's Penn. It's you know what I mean.
I just wonder what the stands will look like. You have 110,000 seats there, and only maybe 5,000 people showing up for the game.
Okay, fine. That's okay. It's the idea of doing the game there. They had a regional district final in Cincinnati at Paycor that drew 22,000 people a week ago.
Do you think that would draw 22,000 in Pennsylvania?
Well, it used to, and maybe not as much. I remember the first year at Acusure, Woodland Hills played Central Catholic in the final, and the entire lower bowl was full. Now, that was 24 years ago.
And that was two local teams, too. You're talking
right.
about Two teams from different parts of the state. A lot of travel involved.
Understood. I always thought it was a missed opportunity, but I digress. Another reason for me to take out my Penn State poking stick and jab away.
You're doing that, don't you, John?
It has been a personal favorite subject of mine for decades. But I will move on to talk a little bit about the Steelers with you, Jerry. Okay, these defenses are not the best. Some of the worst in football. How do one of these two teams win today, Jerry DePaula? Let's ask you that.
Well, let's go with Buffalo first. I think they put the ball in Josh Allen's hands as many times as they can and let him make plays with his legs, make plays with his arms. He doesn't have great receivers, but he also has a good running back, James Cook, who can catch the ball out of the backfield. So I think Josh Allen is younger, more athletic, and he doesn't have a broken bone in his wrist. So Buffalo has a real edge on the Steelers at the quarterback position, and I think that could be the telling point in the game today.
Boy, the wind's whipping right now at Acrisure Stadium, 35 miles an hour. I don't see how. I mean, look, Josh Allen in the peak of his career. You got Aaron Rodgers. Who knows what's going on with that non-throwing hand injury he has? I mean, I think we'll see a lot of all the running backs. Everybody's going to be running the football a lot today, I think, down there.
I think so. And the Steelers have a decent running game, and Buffalo doesn't defend the run very well. So that's an edge for the Steelers. But the first time that Aaron Rodgers, drops a snap from center, someone's going to say, "Why is he playing with a broken wrist?" That's why he didn't play last week. It will come through him handling the ball. And he's going to have to handle the ball every snap today. And things can go wrong. And the trouble with the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers is he has no receivers to throw to. Even DK Metcalf has turned into a pretty average guy for a guy making millions and millions of dollars. So, and the offensive line is going to be without Broderick Jones today. I heard Mike talking about this is the game that Steelers could win because Tom usually comes up with good efforts in games like this. But if I was a betting man, and I'm not, John, and maybe you can get me cool me in a little bit more. But I think Buffalo minus the 3.5.
It's still 3. It's still hanging around 3 right now. I just got on. I'm just looking at I'm trying to find a total right now, just so I can take a peek at this here. Right now, it's still 3. The total's 44.5.
44, pretty low. It's pretty low.
Yeah. Look, I've seen. It's higher for normal Steeler games. I think that's accounting for Josh Allen and their offensive abilities and how bad the Steelers defense can be. Maybe it's a little bit of both, but I'm a little surprised with that win. And this is the thing I always say when you're looking at totals. If you're betting on totals, it's never the snow that impacts the total more. It's always the wind. The wind has way more impact on a game going under with winds at this rate. Now, again, these run defenses are bad. So I think that total is accounted for the fact that these teams don't stop the run very much. And if they are going to run the football a lot primarily and they can't stop the run, you could easily see both of these teams getting into the 20s today, and that puts the total in jeopardy. So, that's probably some of the mindset looking into that.
I think maybe some bettors may want to bet it over, even though it is going to be a windy day, but it's dry supposedly so far. Derek Harmon's not playing, right, John? I mean, that's going to really.
He is not. Yeah, they got
to pile up some yards.
Yeah, Yahya Black apparently is going to step in.
Promising rookie, but he's not. And then Harmon's a first-round draft pick, and he was drafted to stop the run. The Steelers weren't stopping the run at the end of last season, and that's why they drafted Harmon in the first round. So, I don't give the Steelers much of a chance today. I think Allen is the best quarterback in the NFL. Rodgers has had a decent season, but now he's injured. He's going to play injured. He can play injured because he has the heart of a champion, but I really don't think that he can overcome Josh Allen today.
No, it's going to be a tough one, and that's – and he is the X factor without a question. Anytime you're playing Buffalo, he's going to be the guy that will make or break you in terms of how the game is going to play out. We're talking with Jerry DePaula, a longtime writer from the Pittsburgh Tribune Review, who's covered everything under the sun. 4:25 kickoff between the Bills and Steelers from Acusure. What do you think we'll see from Kenny Gainwell today? He had a really best performance of the season last week. Jalen wasn't bad as a team. They ran the ball well. They didn't have a bad day running the football. But Gainwell has come on as of late to be the better of the two running backs, it looks like.
I think it's 1 and 1A. I think they're both pretty good, and they both can catch the ball out of the backfield. They both get extra yards after contact. A nice free agent pickup by the Steelers and Omar Khan picking up Kenny Gainwell. But it's funny. Caleb Johnson. They drafted him in the 3rd round, thinking he was going to be a guy that could be the bell cow on the running game. But so far, he's been maybe 1 or 2 carries every game, and he really hasn't had much of an impact. Maybe he will in future seasons. But I think Gainwell and Warren are going to have decent games today. With the total of 44, I think those two guys might help it go over. But one thing I wanted to point out about the standings in the AFC, John, is that right now the Steelers have an edge on the Ravens because they lost the other night to the Bengals Thanksgiving night. If the Steelers lose today, 6-6, okay, then they probably have to win 4 out of the 5 to make the playoffs. But they play Baltimore twice, and Baltimore I thought was on a wave and was going to wave was going to carry them and keep them in first place in the AFC North. But the way they played against the Bengals, aren't very good. It tells me that the Ravens are a team that can be had. Steelers played them twice. The Steelers win today by some I don't want to say fluke or miracle because it's going to be a close game. But if they win today, that puts them a game up on the Ravens. And
That's right.
They got the Ravens next week. Could go 2 games up with 4 to go. So this is a big game. And next week, they're all big now because things are so close. And there's so many other teams in the AFC fighting for wild card berths. You got Houston, who's beaten the Colts the last I looked. And Buffalo's going to be in the wild card mix. Jacksonville's going to be in the wild card mix. It's not going to be easy for the Steelers to make the playoffs if they don't win that division.
I maintain it's bigger for the Steelers just because of the fact it keeps their wild card window open by having a tiebreaker with Buffalo. You already are down a tiebreaker to the Chargers, right? It keeps an extra window open to the playoffs with a victory and that all-important tiebreaker because right now the path for Buffalo is very much a wild card. I mean, I think they're 2 back right now of the Patriots with a game to play them.
The Patriots, I don't think.
I don't think they're going to catch them either, I'm almost certain that they have 1 game left with them on the schedule. I'm going to check that right now as I'm talking with you. But the simple fact of the matter is that if the Steelers lose today, they only have 1 path, and that's the division. And so, that becomes a real concern for this team. And as I look at things, it looks like they play the Patriots in 2 weeks in Foxborough. So, they've got a chance to make up ground on a team that, they lost to at home earlier this year, 23-20. As for the Steelers, boy, they're really limited at that point in time. You lose today, and next week is almost Armageddon. Right?
Well, the game's more important to the Steelers than it is to Buffalo because Buffalo's 7-4. They can come out of this game 7-5 and still be okay position for the wild card. But the Steelers are 6-6. It's going to be difficult. But one thing I'll say about the upcoming schedule for the Steelers: Baltimore twice, Detroit, which is slumping, and Miami and Cleveland. We were talking a few weeks ago, about how this closing stretch is going to be difficult for the Steelers. Right now, it doesn't look that bad. I mean, Baltimore looks like a very average team. The Lions, aren't playing well right now, and they've got Cleveland and Miami, two of the worst teams in the AFC, maybe the 2 worst teams in the AFC. So the Steelers have kind of an edge, with the schedule coming up because Baltimore looks like it's. And Lamar Jackson is playing like a guy on 1 leg. He doesn't look like himself.
No, he definitely does not. Well, hey, look, we might get surprised next week. We got to get through Buffalo first. before we talk about
What do
Baltimore.
coaches teach you, John? One game at a time, right? Let's not talk about it.
That's right.
I'm guilty of it. Everybody's guilty of it. But this game is huge for the Steelers, much more than it is for Buffalo.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think I tried to make that assessment early on, and I've felt that entirely as the week has progressed. That if they don't win this game, it's either do or die next week. You lose today, and then you go to Baltimore and somehow lose that game.
That's 7 losses, yeah.
Right. I mean, it's not only is it 7 losses, but you have to start really thinking about the tiebreaker at the end of the year. If you get into a position where you play Baltimore in the last game, and you have a chance to still make the playoffs, okay, fine. You got to be looking at tiebreakers, right? What happens if we lose this week to Buffalo, then we go and we lose to Baltimore, but somehow we end up tied and we beat them at the end of the year. Where are we at tiebreaker wise, right? You have to
tiebreaker.
Yeah. You have to really. I'm sure somebody's game planning that. They have to be, right? They have.
I'm sorry, none of that, John. You tiebreakers. You're behind in tiebreakers. You have to win all 4 of those games to get into a tiebreaking situation if you lose the next 2. So, that's why this game is so big. You can afford maybe another loss on the stretch in December if you win today. But if you don't win today, you pretty much have to win them all the rest of the way.
Well, I'm just telling you right now, as much as I hate to even say this, but in a couple weeks, the Steelers have to go to Miami. They have to go for a Sunday night game. It's a Monday night game. Excuse me. They're playing a Monday night game, right? It's at Pittsburgh. I'm sorry. It's a home game, but still, nonetheless, I mean, I'm not going to say that Miami's the 72 Dolphins all of a sudden, but they've won 3 straight. They're winning again right now. I mean, they're starting to put together some sort of a season that makes them a much more competitive team that you're facing, as opposed to 4 weeks ago when this team was 1-6, right? They're a team that's playing with purpose, is my point. And if you're, even if they're under 500 or 6-7, they're playing with purpose, right? When you're facing teams in week 13, 14, 15 that are playing with purpose, right? Understood. But if you're on the wrong side, if you're heading down, if you're trending down and that other team's trending up, it makes it that much more difficult of a hill to climb to get to where you want to be, which is in the postseason, although that really hasn't yielded any positive results, as it has been so well chronicled over the past 8 seasons under Mike Tomlin. All right, before I let you go, Jerry DePaula, prediction on today's game.
I'm going to say it's going to go over. It's going to be 27-21 Buffalo. I think that, Josh Allen will be the difference. And, I just think that, the Steelers are a flawed team. They're flawed without Derek Carmen. They're flawed with their quarterback having a broken bone in his wrist. And they're flawed because their receivers can't get open. It's a home game, and they'll get some energy off of that home game. But I just don't see them beating it. And Buffalo has been struggling lately. They're not like the Buffalo of years past. But I see 27-21 Bills, and we'll talk about it after the game, right? We'll see where
that's
they're
right. John Fedko, yourself, and me.
I can't wait to talk to John. How you doing, John? If you're listening, I'm ready for you, baby. Let's go. Let's get it on.
I love it, Jerry DePaula. Thank you, sir.
All right, my pleasure, John. You have a great day. Enjoy the game.
Hey, all right, thank you. You as well, Jerry DePaula, longtime writer here in Pittsburgh, covering the Steelers, the Pirates, the Penguins, you name it. He has covered it. All right. I want to thank everybody who's been watching us on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Nice little audience today as we continue to grow this show. Thank you for sticking it out with us and making us part of your pregame routine. We will be here for postgame reaction. We do 3-4 hours of pregame coverage, and then, of course, a live postgame show immediately following with John Fedko and Jerry DePaula. We've been able to get Mike Tomlin's postgame presser on the last few postgames, which is good. Bill's doing a great job of keeping his eyes on social media for us in that regard. So we'll have that reaction for you as soon as the game is done. Any thoughts, Bill Akins, before we wrap up?
I mean, nothing really that hasn't been said before. I mean, I think you know it's a task today. Obviously, you know, I said it. You know, the Bills are angry. I mean, they they got beat. They got knocked around against the Texans. Here's another thing too. Think about this. They're also coming off of 10 days of rest.
Yeah,
I mean, that's big too.
it's big, no doubt.
Yeah. You played on a Thursday night. You have that rest factor. Listen, it's gonna be tough. They need to control the time of possession. And you do that by running the football effectively. They had 186 yards against the Bears last week. You're facing a run defense that's ranked 30th. You're at home. Let's establish the run. Let's take some pressure off Aaron Rodgers. I'm concerned about this injury. I know they said, hey, he was a full participant in practice. He's good to go. The doctors cleared him. Whole 9 yards. I get it, but this guy still has 3 broken bones in his wrist.
Yeah.
Granted, it's not his non-throwing wrist, but hey, it's still 3 broken bones. It still affects you when you're under center. I don't want to see him get re-injured or make it worse than what it already is. You don't want to see that. I think you got to put pressure on Josh Allen. Plain and simple. Freaking Texans sacked him 8 times last week.
Yeah.
He was when you watch that game, he was all out of sorts in that game. I mean, they made his life a living hell. They just harassed him the whole game. He wasn't able to do anything. I noticed too. They had a lot of nice, they were doing a great job with pressure up the middle. He wasn't able to step in the pocket and make throws. I mean, they did everything they needed to do to stop him last week. And I think the Steelers, like I said before, they need to take a page out of their playbook and how they did it, and they need to implement it in this game. Simple as that. We'll see. I mean, it's going to be a good game, I think.
Did you see that Jerry Dulac, not to cut you off, did you see that Jerry Dulac tweet about Broderick Jones?
About him being out for the season?
Yeah.
Yeah. I did see that.
Yeah, so
that's another thing. The guy was week in and week out, I thought he was improving. At the beginning of the season, I thought he was like a freaking swinging door in a saloon, right? He was just, he was just not, he was not good. But, that happens. We're at that time of the year where, you're going to have injuries. Next man up.
Next man up, indeed.
I think run blocker too.
Look, he improved over the course of the season. He got out of the gate terribly. It was fairly well chronicled, but ultimately, at the end of the day, he improved his play quietly, and that's the way you want to see it take place. Is that it happens over a progressive period of time where by the middle of the season you're like, we haven't talked about Broderick Jones in a while, and that's a good thing because he's doing much better at his job. Unfortunately for him, this neck injury seems to be really severe and is going to keep him out for the remainder of the season. All right, couple quick thoughts from myself, and then we're going to put a bow tie on this. Again, Steel City Sunday live from the North Park Lounge, Richland Hilltop Event Center, where they have Naughty and Nice. If you love Christmas, you want to come up here for Naughty and Nice. This thing is pretty wild. They've got 6 unique rooms that are decked out in different types of Christmas themes. They've got one that's elf inspired. Another one that's a white Christmas. They've got just neat rooms. They've got one that's inspired by the Grinch. It's just what they've done up here is just really festive and wonderful. It's family friendly. Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, it's $10. $10 to come up here. They got a naughty bar for the adults. If you want to bring up, if you're an adult of age and you want to have a cocktail, they have that running as well. Please come check out North Park Lounge, Richland, on Route 8 in Gibsonia, Naughty and Nice running through the remainder of the year. And, of course, we are also sponsored by our good friends at Arch Masonry and Restoration. Arch Masonry and Restoration not slowing down with wintertime approaching. They stay busy. They are looking for craftsmen in the construction trades, concrete, block, brick, restoration work, labor help. If you want to get into a career, don't have any experience, that's okay. They will talk with you because they have programs that will help jumpstart your career. They will train you on the job. 412-564-5733 or visit archmasonryinc.com to learn more. We appreciate their support and continued support by Mark Baranovsky and the North Park Lounge Restaurant Group as they give us a foundation for us every week when the Steelers play to broadcast our show live. Looking at the Steelers today, I do like them to win. This is bad news for the Steelers because anytime I tell you they're going to win, they lose. and when I tell you they're going to lose, they are going to win. It's going to be a nail-biter. I think this is a 27-24, 30-27. I think these teams will run the ball primarily. We will see some passing. I don't think we're going to see a lot of it. I think James Cook will have a big day. I think both running backs for the Steelers will be good in terms of their production. I think all of them will score touchdowns. I think Warren will score. Allen will score. Cook will score. I think Cook will run for at least 90 yards. I think Warren will run for 70 and Gainwell for 40. I like the Steelers to win this game closely. That pays 240-1, by the way. 240-1 with a little odds boost from Fanatics, who I love betting with for some. They love taking my money, and I like taking their money. Took some of their money this week, which was nice. So there you have it. Steelers in a shootout today, 30-27, I'll say is the final score. We will be back after the game is over. When the game ends, jump back on board with us. We'll have John Fedko. We will have Jerry DePaula, Bill, and myself here at NPL. We'll break it all down. We'll have the Mike Tomlin postgame presser at some point in our postgame. We'll throw that on so we can hear what the coach has to say. We'll get your reaction on YouTube, Facebook, or X. You can always follow us on social media. As I wrap up the show, I think it's always fair to say you can follow us at Steel City Sunday on all the social media sites, X, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Go follow us. If you haven't already, please do so. At Steel City Sunday on all the social media sites, but we broadcast live on YouTube, Facebook, and X every pregame, every postgame of every Steelers game. You can catch us live, and we have shows during the week now. We got the Pittsburgh Sports Desk, Gridiron. What's the other one? Gridiron Weekly. Gridiron Weekly that Bill hosts. He's kind enough to ask me to join his Pittsburgh Sports Desk the last few weeks, which has been fun. I'm going to start actually putting some shows out of my own here in the month of December. We're probably going to broadcast on Mondays and maybe on Tuesdays just because why not? We want to build this platform up, and we want to provide more content for you. And I just want to run my mouth. Not going to lie. It's a vanity project, folks. I'm sorry. Okay, that's our show. Thanks for joining us. Immediately following Steelers and Bills, come on back for postgame for the entire cast and crew. 9 guests today. Biggest show to date for guests. I want to thank everybody. Paul Zeiss. I want to thank Todd Haley. I want to thank Steve Cofield. Nick Sabato. I want to thank Mike Ostie.
Greg Brown.
How about Greg Brown for 20-plus minutes today?
Golden voice. I love the voice.
Dynamite guy. Just dynamite. Jerry DePaula came on. Beating the Bookie was with us. Zig Fracassi, of course, as well.
Another golden voice.
Voice.
Oh, man.
Just a wacky guy. I love him. Thanks to everybody, all of you watching right now, close to 2,000 of you on our various streams. Thanks for checking us out this afternoon. Steelers postgame. As soon as Bills and Steelers is over, right back here on Facebook, YouTube, and X. I'm John Phillips. We'll talk to you after the Steelers-Bills game. See ya.